Chapter 684. The curse breaker. Maxim Barnes dismissed everyone in the hall except Layla and Edith. "You seem like you know more about him than any of us," said Maxim. "I know him enough to know the danger my sister is in," Layla coldly responded. After inspecting Edith's body, Layla learned that Ghost could end her sister's life any second. Even her mentor didn't have any knowledge about what he had done to Edith. "If she wants, you are welcome to take her with you," Maxim said. He was nonchalant. "I am not going anywhere." Edith shook her head. "Layla, if you know him, tell him to change his path," said Edith. Layla snickered. "No, let him come," Victoria interjected before Layla could respond to Edith. "We can finish this once and for all." "I will make an example out of him," said Victoria. Her voice was murderous. After learning he had poisoned her mother, the little bit of mercy she had for Abras completely disappeared. She wanted to take his head and put it in a pike before the castle. "Edith!" Layla turned her gaze toward Edith. She gently cupped Edith's face. Her motherly instinct screamed at her to take Edith away from Wuxia. Edith's eyes watered, seeing the motherly love in Layla's eyes. It was extremely rare to see Layla express her emotions like this. "Come with me to the Rainbow Island. You'd be safe here." "I promise you he won't hurt you," said Layla. She knew Ghost poisoned Edith to hurt Victoria. Now that he had poisoned Valeria, he didn't have any need to hurt Edith. Furthermore, Layla could plead with him to spare her sister. But first, Edith needed to leave Wuxia. Layla didn't want Edith to be in between Ghost and his revenge. "No," Edith shook her head. "I am not going to run away." "My place is beside Vicky," said Edith. "She made her decision," Maxim snickered. "Lady Alden, why don't you stay with Edith and take care of her until we deal with him?" said Valeria. Although she was afraid of dying deep down, she was the queen of Wuxia. She couldn't afford to look afraid or weak. Besides, Valeria didn't think a single man could threaten the great nation of Wuxia. "Please," Edith pleaded with her puppy eyes. For a few minutes, Layla remained silent. After a while, she exhaled deeply. "Only if you listen to me," Maxim Barnes grinned in his mind. Not because he wanted Layla's help in killing Ghost, but because Maxim Barnes had feelings for Layla. She was his first love. To be honest, Maxim only worried about Ghost exposing the existence of the cosmic stream. Once he kills Ghost, he doesn't have anything to worry about. He wondered why Layla was so afraid of one man. Granted, Ghost was a prodigy and a true freak of nature. If he weren't so powerful, Maxim wouldn't have considered marrying Victoria to him. It was really unfortunate that Ghost turned out to be a guardian of the cosmic stream. Even if Ghost hadn't threatened Victoria, Maxim wouldn't have let him live. "I will. Just stay with us." Tears rolled out of Edith's eyes. Layla had two reasons to stay in Wuxia. One was obviously Edith and her safety. The second reason was that if push came to shove, Layla could teleport Ghost away and save him from King Maxim's wrath. "I want to know why he's seeking revenge against Wuxia," asked Layla. Edith slowly turned her gaze toward the Barnes. Unlike her, Layla was oblivious to what they did to Ghost. Maxim Barnes prepared himself for this scenario. He fabricated a perfect story to twist the facts. After killing Ghost, whatever he says would be the truth. After all, history was written by the winners. This chapter upload first at NovelBin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit NovelNext.com to experience faster update speed. Follow current novels on NovelBin.com. **********. Meanwhile, in the treacherous ocean, Michael was facing the ghostly elf. Michael waited for the system to break the rune and give him the artifact. Until then, Michael decided to entertain himself by talking to the elf who created the artifact. "Let's face it. You can't stop me. You're just a sliver of soul," exclaimed Michael. Gaia lowered her bow and started to chuckle. "Look at this elf. He seems mad at us. If you wanted your chosen one to get the artifact, you should have done a better job hiding it," Nightmare commented. "You can't use it, human," snickered the elf. "If you seriously believe that, you're in for a shock," Michael smiled. "You kind of always been the vermin of out the world. Always take things you don't deserve." The elf looked disgusted. Judging by his tone and words, it was evident the elf hated humans to the core. "So the chosen one is an elf?" Michael tilted his head. "He's not a human. He's a god." The elf expected the human before him to be shocked and surprised. Instead, he saw him burst into laughter. "Don't tell me it's for the God of Light?" Michael Eyre quoted the words God of Light. The elf was surprised. Michael couldn't believe he had stumbled upon something meant for the God of Light. "This day keeps getting better and better," Michael laughed. "So now I am not only getting the artifact, but I am also taking something from him. You know the God of Light?" the elf asked. Although he was just a sliver of soul awakened by Michael when he touched the rune, the elf still possessed the intelligence he had when he was whole. "You can say that," said Michael. "Then you should know the danger our world is in right now. Do you know what would happen if this artifact falls into the wrong hands?" asked the elf. "Didn't you say I can't use it? So what's there to worry about?" "No one can use it anyways," Michael shrugged. "What's happening?" The elf sensed the protective rune was getting weaker. His mind went blank, as it shouldn't have been possible. When the elf noticed the grin on the human's face, he was stunned. "How are you doing this?" the elf asked with a baffled look. "Doing what?" "The rune. It's getting weaker." "1 minute," Michael raised a finger. "This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Nets is by N Novel by N. In 1 minute, your staff will belong to me." "You," suddenly, the elf looked like he had a realization. Everything made sense to the elf. He couldn't believe it, but there was no other explanation for what was happening. "You're the Dark Lord." Michael wasn't surprised. Since the elf knew about the God of Light, it was only natural for him to know about the God of Darkness. "Bingo!" Michael clapped for the elf. The room started to tremble as the wooden panels in the center slowly slid open. A pillar emerged from the ground. Michael finally saw the artifact. It was a 5-foot golden trident. The elf panicked. "No, stop!" the elf shouted. However, Michael couldn't care less. He kept walking toward the trident. When he was at arm's distance from the trident, the elf closed his eyes. The cabin creaked. Nightmare and Gaia heard the wind howling outside as though a storm was approaching them. The trident trembled. It slowly rose from the pillar and was about to fly out of the cabin when Michael grabbed it tight. "Where do you think you're going?" Michael snickered. He felt the trident violently quivering in his hand. "I won't let my creation fall into the evil's hand," the elf snarled. He seemed like he was about to cast a spell on Michael. "There was a time I would have told you that darkness does not always equate to evil, just as light does not always bring good," said Michael, holding the spear. The spear tried to fly away, but Michael's grip was too strong. "If taking this trident and breaking the curses put on innocent people by your kind is being evil, I don't give a damn about what you think." The veins on Michael's hands popped up. The trident trembled violently as the elf tried to make the trident fly away from Michael. "Let my staff go!" the elf shouted. His thundering roar obliterated the cabin walls. Nightmare and Gaia stumbled back due to the force. However, Michael remained still. The only difference was the area became darker. The elf couldn't believe his eyes. Everything around him grew darker and darker. Inch by inch, Michael pulled back the trident toward him. Under the elf's shocked gaze, a dark cloud shrouded Michael. Instead of his black robes, a creepy black armor appeared on him. Finally, the elf saw the Dark Lord's true form. He completely lost the connection with the trident. Gradually the dark shoulder moved through Michael's hand and enveloped the golden trident. "No, no, no, no," the elf mumbled. Panic struck his heart. He was helpless and powerless to stop the Dark Lord. A few seconds later, the trident completely disappeared from sight. "What did you do?" asked the elf with a terrified face. "It belongs to me now," Michael's demonic voice echoed through the forest. The elf floated backward in terror. "Now it's time to end your pathetic existence." Without giving the elf any time to react, Michael dashed toward him. He immediately cast the Soul Eater. The elf felt a strong force pulling him toward the Dark Lord. He tried to resist, but the force was too much. Standing a few meters away from Michael, Gaia and Nightmare saw the elf's ghostly figure slowly turning into a cloud of smoke. This smoke flew straight into Michael's mouth. "No!" the elf screamed in agony. It didn't last long as the elf completely faded away from sight. "We didn't even know who he was," said Gaia. "There was no need," answered Michael. A smile emerged on his face, looking at his status. The Cursebreaker. He had acquired a legendary skill. With this, he could break any curses put on people. "It's time we get out of this place," The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 685. Breaking Eve's curse. After taking the artifact and absorbing the elf soul, Michael had enough badass points to buy a teleportation scroll. He used it to escape the treacherous ocean. Finally, Michael reached the outskirts of the treacherous ocean. Hovering in the air, he could see the Rainbow Islands on the horizon. He wanted to visit Layla, but he chose not to. Meeting them would endanger the whole island. His war with the Sky Hall had nothing to do with innocent people living on the island. From the outskirts, Michael just had to use the runic teleportation to reach the Voldegard castle. The people of Voldegards were busy fixing the broken walls and roofs in the castle. Heavy snowfall blanketed everything. It was knee-high as soldiers had to float above the snow to save time. Some of the servants who were sitting atop the roof, fixing them with nails and hammers, saw Michael, Gaia and Nightmare in the air. "Master Ghost is back!" the servants shouted. Everyone looked up at Michael. Without uttering a word, Michael flew straight into the castle. As he reached the hall, Michael saw the Voldegard family gathered in the hall. He saw Jennifer, Lord Julian, and Lady Astrid with several elders of the family. Lord Julian sensed Michael's presence. He quickly averted his gaze toward Michael. "Master Ghost," said Lord Julian. A strange expectation emerged within his eyes. Lady Astrid welcomed Michael with a bright smile. Jennifer, on the other hand, looked surprised. She wondered why Michael was here instead of in Emazaroth. Michael glanced at the elders, who looked somewhat bewildered. They opened and closed their mouths as though they had something in their mind to ask Michael. "Miss Elia, Nightmare," Lady Astrid embraced Gaia in a gentle motherly hug. "We'll talk later." Lord Julian dismissed the elders. They all slightly bowed toward Michael before leaving the hall. "Please make yourselves at home." Lady Astrid gestured at them to sit on the sofa. "Where is Eve?" asked Michael, plunging onto the sofa beside the fireplace. "Eve!" Lady Astrid called out for Eve. "Jenny, go bring your sister to us," Lord Julian asked Jennifer. She nodded and climbed upstairs to meet Eve. "Eve said you went to Mazeroth," said Julian. "I did. Apparently, there is nothing much to learn in Mazeroth. So here I am," said Michael. He was nonchalant. "So about Eve, have you dash? Why do you think I am here?" Michael cut short Julian's words. "I can lift the curse now." Michael's words brought them both shock and delight. Astrid's eyes immediately watered up. Until recently, she didn't know the elves put a curse on Eve. She believed Eve had no talent for reaching the soul-refining stage. To be honest, she couldn't believe even when she told them about the curse. But Julian and Eve believed it was the truth. Hearing that Ghost could lift the curse, the father and mother brimmed with joy. It took Jennifer a minute to bring Eve. "Ghost!" Michael looked up at the stairs to see Eve gracefully walking down. Despite the cold weather, she was sweating. Judging by the smudges on her face and the warhammer in her hand, he could tell she was training as usual. "What are you doing here?" asked Eve. "Nice to see you too, Eve." Gaia rolled her eyes. Eve sighed with a smile. "I thought you were in the Mazeroth." "I was." Once again, Michael had to repeat the same words he had said to Julian. This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Continue reading on Novelbin. Let's not waste any time. Michael stood up. "Lord Julian, do you have a secure room?" Lord Julian immediately bobbed his head up and down. "Follow me." Lord Julian and Astrid paced toward a private room in the castle. They used this room for important meetings and conduct shady deals. "What's going on?" asked Eve. "I am going to lift the curse on you." Eve was shocked, and so was Jennifer. Unlike Eve, Jennifer researched a lot about curses when Eve told her about curses. According to various ancient texts and books, curses were a kind of rune. Some elven rune masters specialized in curses. It wouldn't be an understatement to say each prominent elven family had a rune master who could curse their foes. But putting a curse on people was not as simple as casting a spell. The rune master had to get close to the victim, and it would take time to place the curse. In Eve's case, the Filvander family pretended to check Eve's cultivation talents and put a curse on her soul instead. Poor Eve didn't have any idea that they cursed her. "I read only the one who put the curse can lift it," said Jennifer while following Julian and Astrid. "Don't believe everything you read," said Gaia. Jennifer did not question Ghost. She had seen him overcome the odds against the plague. If he could lift the curse on her sister, Jennifer would be eternally grateful to Ghost. Eventually, they reached an empty room with no windows or glass whatsoever. Except for the round table in the middle, there was nothing. Eve, come forward. Others step back, said Michael. Julian and Astrid held each other's arms tightly. Their bodies shivered, and their eyes glimmered with concern. Eve took a deep breath. Since this was the first time using the Cursebreaker, Michael was unfamiliar with the procedure. He just placed his hand on Eve's forehead. Close your eyes, said Michael. He made up this procedure. Michael then willed the system to scan her body. He felt a new sensation. Using the Cursebreaker was as easy as breathing. When he touched Eve, he sensed a powerful vibration in her body. Soon, this vibration turned into a scream. Michael focused on the scream. The scream sounded louder and louder to the point his head began to ache. Unlike them, the others noticed Eve's body trembling. A gust of wind breezed around her, making her hair flutter in the wind. Under their gazes, a thin layer of light emerged on her skin. Finally, Michael grabbed the source of the scream with his mind. The Cursebreaker felt like an extension of his arm. He grabbed the curse in her soul. A strange rune pulsing within her body. It attached itself to Eve's soul and suppressed the soul's power. Hence, stopping her from reaching the soul refining stage. Under Michael's grab, the rune shattered. As a result, everyone in the room felt a powerful surge of energy around them. Ah! Eve roared. Eve! Julian and Astrid shouted. They tried to dash forward, but Gaia stopped them. Don't. The energy surge lasted for a few minutes. Then, the bright light around Eve finally began to dim. Open your eyes, said Michael. Eve slowly opened her eyes. She felt lightweight, as though something heavy had been lifted off of her. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net SSN OVL Bin. Is it done? Eve asked. You are curse-free, smiled Michael. In a blink of an eye, Eve's family dashed forward. They surrounded her. Julian and Astrid embraced her tightly. To Michael's surprise, Jennifer grabbed his arms. Her eyes welled up. She was on the verge of crying. Thank you, Jennifer squeezed Michael's hands. No need to thank me. She's my friend, Michael smiled. He patted Jennifer on the shoulder. Letting the family have some time alone, Michael walked out of the room with Gaia and Nightmare. He returned to the hall and sat on the sofa, enjoying the warmth of the fireplace. That went smooth, said Nightmare. J.E. leaped onto Michael's lap, circling himself into a ball. You know we can turn this into a service. Charge millions to lift curses, Gaia pitched her idea. Yes, but it will unnecessarily put us in a bad light with the elves. We have to use this power with caution. If the elven families who tend to curse people find out about the Cursebreaker, they might try to kill me. But, Michael snickered, I am not going to hide anymore. I just have to be cautious until I reach the half-immortal stage. As they were talking, Eve and her family came to the hall. Their faces were glowing with joy. Lord Julian and Astrid walked toward Michael. He stood up. Master Ghost, take this. Lord Julian extended a golden parchment toward Michael. What is it? Michael asked, taking the parchment. He opened it up. The parchment contained words written and signed by Julian. It was a deal to hand over the floating mountain to Ghost. The same floating mountain Michael fought the fusion stage Reaper. Although Michael liked that floating mountain, he felt reluctant to take it. After all, Michael helped Eve because she was his friend. For the first time since he came to this world, he did something without expecting something in return. One could say this was Michael being a goody two-shoes. We are giving it to you. Don't be rude. Accept it. Eve came to Michael's side. She punched Michael on the shoulder. Gaia peeked over Michael's shoulder to see what was written on the parchment. A few moments later, she got so excited. Of course, she didn't show the excitement on her face, but deep down, she was bouncing in joy. Moreover, she had already formed several plans to transform the barren floating mountain into their own fortress. Are you going to take it or not? Eve asked with a stern voice. Do I have a choice? Michael smiled. No. Then I will take it, said Michael. As expected, Julian threw a grand feast for Michael, and Astrid made Michael eat up to his throat. Everything went great and joyful until the end of the feast when Eve took out a parchment from her space ring. She tossed it toward Michael. "Take a look at it," said Eve. Julian once again dismissed everyone in the hall, including Jennifer. Michael noticed the grave looks on their faces. He then slowly opened the parchment. "Dear Voldegards, the great kingdom of Thusia has declared war against your friend Ghost. If you aid him in any way against Thusia, you will suffer the wrath of the whole kingdom. You've been warned. War Council of Thusia." Michael clenched his fist. However, it didn't surprise Michael much. In fact, he expected Thusia to make their moves against his allies. Unfortunately for Thusia, their tactics wouldn't work on Michael because Michael didn't plan to use his allies against Thusia. Instead, he would use Thusia's enemies against them. Chapter 686. Heavenly Tribulation. I don't know why you have an axe to grind with Thusia, but I am coming with you, said Eve. She was so calm and casual, like she was going on a vacation. No, you're not. Michael shook his head. It's between Thusia and me. I won't put you and your family in danger. He was adamant about not involving his allies in the war between him and Thusia. The only allies he would use were the kings who is already at war with Thusia. Michael wanted to dismantle everything Maxim Barnes built brick by brick. Out of the question, Ghost. You saved my life. And I want you to keep it. If you want to help me, go to Bradford and keep those people safe. Michael's voice was domineering, like a god. Under his tone, not only Eve, everyone in the room shuddered. He's right. If they target Bradford, we need someone we can trust to save those people, said Gaia. For a few long moments, Eve thought about this. Finally she sighed. Judging by Michael's look, he wouldn't take her with him, she knew that. Hence, the only way to help him keep the people of Bradford safe. It wasn't fighting alongside Ghost, but it was better than nothing. I need a safe place, said Michael. Isn't this a safe place? Eve tilted her head slightly. No. Michael's answer shocked everyone. Eve creased her brows. I am going to trigger the heavenly tribulation, Eve. As soon as these words escaped Michael's mouth, their minds went blank. All of them looked startled to the core. Silence fell over the hall. The firewood crackled under the scorching heat of the fireplace. Everyone remained silent until Eve's words cut through it. You're going to reach the half-immortal stage. Julian was unable to believe the words he's been hearing. In his life, he had never heard someone as young as Ghost breaking through to the half-immortal stage. He couldn't even remember the last time someone triggered a heavenly tribulation. If his memory served him right, it had been 200 years since a human reached the half-immortal stage. It's dangerous, Ghost. Are you sure you want to do this? Eve asked in a gentle tone. Her eyes glimmered with concern for Michael's life. If you're worried about my life, don't. I am not going to die. I just need a safe place for 5 days. During these 5 days of heavenly tribulation, the slightest disturbance can result in catastrophe. Hence, my need for a safe place. Now that you're pissed off Thusia somehow, they will definitely use this opportunity to end you, said Eve. Michael liked Eve more and more. She didn't even ask why Thusia wanted to kill him or the other way around. Without knowing the reason, Eve stood beside him. To Michael, it felt like she was meant to be his side. I have a place in mind. Now that Lord Julian and Lady Astrid gave me the floating mountain, I can make use of it. Care to tell us where this safe place is? Asked Eve. This chapter upload first at Novel Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. New novel chapters are published on novelbin.com. The Holy Church, said Michael. The last time Michael checked, he was an ally to the Holy Church. Although the Holy Church was still in a growing phase, it wasn't weak either. The Holy Church had a good relationship with the Empress and the Golden Princes. Therefore, any kingdom would think twice before acting against the Holy Church. Even the Guardian Guild didn't dare to be disrespectful toward the Holy Church. The Holy Church believed Michael was a strong believer. Michael didn't think they would say no if Michael asked for a safe haven. Michael slowly rose from his sofa. It's time for me to go meet His Holiness in the church, said Michael. Knowing the graveness of the matter, none of the Voldegards dared to stop Michael. Before that, I have one more thing to do, said Julian. Let's fly to the floating mountain. I'll accompany you too. Eve decided to join Michael and Julian. So taking the protector of the Voldegards along with them, Michael, Gaia, Nightmare, Eve, and Julian flew to the floating mountain. It took them almost an hour to reach the mountain. The lonely mountain hovered in the air. Snow blanketed everything. Even the waterfall was frozen and looked like a glacier. The remnants of the battle with the fusion stage Reaper were still visible. The ground had deep webs of cracks. The party slowly landed in the middle of the barren mountain. In Gaia's eyes, she could see a towering fortress atop the floating mountain. She couldn't wait to transform this barren floating mountain into the world's first floating fortress. Master Ghost. Lord Julian extended his arm toward Michael. Michael grabbed his arm. Lord Julian closed his eyes as Michael felt a tinge of electricity passing through his arm. Does the host wish to take the floating mountain as your base of operation? Asked the system. Yes, Michael confirmed in his head. It's done, said Lord Julian. Michael felt a strange connection with the mountain. He pointed his finger as the floating mountain trembled before slowly floating forward. Lord Julian and the protectors were stunned to see the power of Michael. Although Lord Julian was a fusion stage cultivator, he couldn't move the mountain without the help of the protectors. They all needed to work together and use their combined energies to move the mountain. However, Michael did that single-handedly. After exchanging pleasantries for a few more minutes, Lord Julian and the others prepared to leave the floating mountain. But before Eve could ascend to the sky, Michael called out for her. Eve nodded at her father, wordlessly telling him to go first. Michael looked up at Eve. A gentle smile hiding grave concerts appeared on Michael's face. Whatever happens, whatever people say about me, I always thought of you as my friend. I had no ulterior motives for helping you, Eve. Why are you telling me this now, Ghost? Eve furrowed her brows. She was about to descend when Michael disappeared from her sight along with Gaia and Nightmare. Once the floating mountain completely disappeared from their sight, Gaia asked. Why did you say that to Eve? Asked Gaia. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net new novel chapters are published on Novel Bin. I feel like I can't pretend to live two lives anymore, Michael sighed. He had this eerie feeling for some time. Even though he did everything in his power to hide his other identity, some things weren't in his control. His instincts had never betrayed him, and this time, they were telling him to fully embrace his Dark Lord persona instead of living as Ghost in the day and the Dark Lord in the night. He felt the two identities were stopping him from reaching his full potential. The mental pressure to keep his identity hidden was getting higher and higher. As a result, he started to make mistakes. After all, Michael was not a perfect human being to not make any mistakes. Even if our identities get exposed, I just hope the people who helped us won't get in trouble with the Guardian Guild and the Sky Hall, said Nightmare. His thoughts were no different than Gaia's. She was worried about the Sunrise sect and everyone in it. Do you have a plan for them? Asked Michael. Why do you think I allied myself with the Holy Church? When the world learns Ghost is the Dark Lord, the Guardian Guild would obviously target everyone who aided us. Since the Holy Church itself helped us, they would do their best to spin the story they helped us without knowing Ghost's real identity. They would say Ghost fooled them. It's not a story, it's the truth, said Gaia. Michael nodded and continued. The Holy Church can't say they were fooled but not the others. It will make them look even worse. Plus, I always kept a distance from the people who helped us. So the Sky Hall and the Guardian Guild will put them under surveillance but won't harm them, Michael explained. I really hope your instinct is wrong this time, human, Gaia slowly shook her head. She was especially concerned for little Cindy and Raylene. They were truly innocent people who had done nothing wrong. Me too, Michael sighed. They continued to fly toward the Holy Church in the city of Ysirius, where Michael met Vishrian. The floating golden temple soon appeared in their view, being covered by snow. Read chapter 578 to refresh your memory. To Michael's surprise, when he got closer to the church, Vishriel flew out of the temple to welcome him as though Vishrian had sensed Michael's presence. Believer Ghost, Vishrian greeted Michael with a smile. Miss Elia Nightmare. Vishrian smiled at Gaia and Nightmare. Most of the true believers of the Holy Church resented the other races. Fortunately, Vishrian was not one of them. He and his brother Maxwell believed all lives were created equally by the Great One and Two. Believer Vishrian, Michael greeted back with a smile and bow. You have been in my prayers ever since what happened in Royal Land. I truly wish we had more power to root out all evil from the face of this world, said Vishrian. The world will change, Believer Vishrian. But today, I am at the Holy Church's doorstep with an unreasonable request. If it's in my power, I will give it to you, believer ghost, said Vishrian, gesturing at them to follow him into the church. I want a safe place to cross the heavenly tribulation, believer Vishrian. Vishrian landed on the doorstep of the holy church with a dumbstruck look on his face. Just like anyone else, he couldn't believe Ghost was on the verge of breaking through to the half-immortal stage. Of course, everyone thought the youngest to reach the half-immortal stage would be the wielder of Angels Vina, Layla Alden. But never in a million years, one thought she would be surpassed by Ghost. I have to talk to His Holiness, but I don't think he would say no to a true believer when he's in need of a safe haven. Michael was glad to hear Vishrian's words. On the other hand, Gaia had difficulty controlling her urge to laugh at the holy church. Michael was fooling them to the core. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 687. Heavenly Tribulation 2. The Holy Church's interior was completely made of gold. Even the benches were pure gold. Michael was dumbstruck by the show of wealth. The hall resembled a typical church's interior on Earth. At the end of the hall, statues of the sun and moon erupted to honor the Great One and Two. The Holy Church believed the Great One was the sun and the Great Two was the moon. Vishrian asked them to wait and pray to the Great One and Two while he asked permission to offer a safe haven to Michael from His Holiness. He wasn't the same His Holiness Michael met on royal land. Michael and Gaia pretended to pray by kneeling before the Great One and Two. For some reason, Michael had a strange feeling when he knelt down. He felt like something inside him was telling him not to kneel down before anyone. He was a god after all. But Michael did not listen to this feeling. If kneeling down would save his life, he would rather kneel down than die on his feet. Except for the howling wind, Michael heard nothing. The silence calmed his mind and soul. Nightmare sat on one of the gold benches and stared at the place with a bewildered look. Everything glowed, radiating golden light. Nightmare scratched the golden bench with his claw. He wanted to rip everything from the church and hoard it in a secret place. Although he grew up with Michael and Gaia, he still had his dragon instincts to hoard valuables. Control yourself, Nightmare ordered himself. After waiting for almost 15 minutes, Vishrian finally walked out of the door. Believer ghost. Michael slowly opened his eyes. He slightly looked up to see Vishrian standing before him with a gentle smile. His Holiness has agreed to your request, believer ghost, said Vishrian with a smile. Michael stood up. There was no doubt in Michael's mind that the Holy Church would deny his request. How could they when Michael offered to give millions to the church as a donation? Still, Michael pretended to be relieved and elated. Gratitude to the Great One and Two. Michael bowed like an honest to the core believer. He's also sending his personal holy guards to ensure no one interrupts your heavenly tribulation. His Holiness is so generous and kind, said Michael. But if I may ask believer Vishrian, how strong are these holy guards? Asked Michael. Since he threatened Victoria, it was only natural for Thusia to send people to end his life. King Barnes wouldn't take the risk of retaliating against Bradford or anyone close to Michael due to Michael's threat of exposing the cosmic stream. At the same time, he wouldn't send half-immortal stage warriors after Michael, either. First, suppose he had sent half-immortals after Michael, it would draw the attention of the Council of the Immortals. Second, King Barnes might not have any half-immortals because no one has seen a heavenly tribulation in Thusia. So unless King Barnes found a way to hide the heavenly tribulation or to reach the half-immortal stage without triggering one, Michael was sure of Thusia's lack of half-immortals. But once the news of Michael triggering the heavenly tribulation reaches Thusia, Maxim Barnes would definitely use the cosmic stream to reach the half-immortal stage himself. He would have no choice by then. Soul refining stage, but each of them as strong as a level 4 fusion stage cultivator. Michael wondered how, but he didn't ask any more questions. He doubted even if he asked, Vishrian would answer them. So when are you planning to start your heavenly tribulation? I have to say, believer ghost, you are truly blessed by the Great One and Two to have such monstrous cultivation speed. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. It's also a burden, believer Vishrian. As much as I want to walk the path of kindness, I always end up with more enemies. Even now, I need a safe haven because some wanted to kill me. Vishrian didn't seem surprised by Michael's words. He just sighed. Even the Great One and Two has enemies they have to battle. Michael nodded. Where should I cultivate, believer Vishrian? Follow me. Vishrian gestured at them to follow him. He led them through the door near the statues. Soon they reached the backyard. The scenery pleasantly surprised Michael. Red maple trees shed their leaves, blanketing the snowy ground. The Royal Land Holy Church grew yellow maple trees, and here, they grew red maple trees instead. The winter didn't affect the red maple trees for some reason. They all swiftly danced in the blowing wind. A frozen pond in the middle glimmered like obsidian glass. Several yellow mats were placed around the frozen pond for worshippers of the Holy Church to cultivate and meditate. To Michael's surprise, the entire Holy Church seemed to be empty. Other than Vishrian, Michael saw no one. He couldn't help wondering why. The Royal Land Holy Church was buzzing with worshippers and holy guards. However, Vishrian's church had no one except him. "Do you have everything you need to successfully cross the heavenly tribulation, believer ghost?" asked Vishrian. Michael nodded. Honestly, Michael didn't need anything. In stark contrast, the cultivators of this world needed several artifacts, pills, and potions to increase their chances of survival. In Michael's case, he only needed 5 days of time. During these 5 days, the system would reconstruct his body and soul cell by cell. Then, there is no time like the present. But if you want to wait till the holy guards reach here, feel free to meditate under the red maple shade. "It will soothe your soul and mind," said Vishrian. Michael thought about it for a moment and ultimately decided to start breaking through without waiting for the holy guards. "I would like to start now, believer Vishrian, Nov LB, in." COM Vishrian nodded. "I'd give you some time alone and go check on the runes one last time." Vishrian disappeared from the backyard, leaving Gaia and Nightmare alone with Michael. "Take this." Michael flicked his wrist as several golden scrolls materialized in his hand. "Bring the protector of Voldegards and all our allies in Elon," said Michael as Gaia nodded. "But do not ask anything about your mother to the Kane family elders until I am done with tribulation." "Got it." This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net Gaia was reluctant, but in the end, she agreed. "Before I go," Gaia stepped closer. She hugged him tight before placing a gentle kiss on his lips and forehead. "It'll be fine," said Michael with a gentle tone. Although Gaia seemed normal, Michael noticed the concern in her eyes. She was hiding it well, but Michael knew her too well. He waited until she disappeared into the cloudy sky. "Let's begin." Michael took a deep breath. He walked toward one of the mats and sat in a meditating position. "System, it is time," Michael said to the system. "Are you sure, host?" Surprisingly, the system questioned Michael. It even sounded a little bit worried. "I am. The host cannot use the system for 5 days. The host will be conscious but unable to move your body. The host's protective spells will not work during these 5 days," the system informed Michael. It was indeed a risk to start the tribulation, yet Michael chose to do it because it was time to destroy Thusia. He would have been far safer in Mazeroth if it wasn't for Wulfric. According to Gaia, when a cultivator triggers the heavenly tribulation, the energy fluctuations would create a violent storm. As a result, streaks of lightning would strike the area the cultivator was. To successfully reach the half-immortal stage, the cultivator needed to survive this barrage of lightning strikes. Many believed luck played a big role in the heavenly tribulation. They weren't wrong. If a cultivator didn't have good luck, he would get struck by lightning continuously and turn into ashes. Thanks to the system, Michael didn't need to rely on luck. However, Michael wasn't clear about his heavenly tribulation. He doubted his would be similar to the rest of the world. N0VL next. Koem showing all the thoughts to the back of his mind, Michael drew several deep breaths. Finally, he closed his eyes. Everything became dark. He felt tingling electricity running down his spine. Seconds passed, and those seconds turned into minutes and minutes to hours. He emptied his thoughts, calming his mind. After an hour, Michael heard murmurs around him. People were gasping in shock. He could hear them. Soon, their words became inaudible due to the rumbling thunder and howling wind. Every time he heard a thunderclap, the ground beneath him shook. At that moment, Gaia hovered in the air far enough from Michael and the Holy Church to see his figure. To her surprise, several prominent figures from the Aur continent appeared near the Holy Church. Shock and surprise were written on their faces. It was obvious they didn't expect such a young man to trigger the heavenly tribulation. She could even see elves and dwarves among the crowd. Their numbers increased with the passing minutes. As promised, the holy guards guarded Michael at a safe distance. The sky above Michael slowly darkened as streaks of purple lightning flashed across it. Many among the crowd, especially cultivators with white hair, looked particularly stunned. The reason was they had seen heavenly tribulations before. But they had never witnessed the storm appear on the very first day of the tribulation instead of the fourth or fifth day. Gaia and Nightmare looked worried, although Michael reassured them. As they were witnessing the heavenly tribulation, there was a battle going on far away from the Holy Church. The battle was between none other than Diana and the 5 fusion stage cultivators of Wuxia, who were sent by Maxim to kill Michael. Chapter 688. Rowena meets Harriet Hunt. While Michael was facing the heavenly tribulation, Diana interrupted the 5 fusion stage cultivators sent by Maxim Barnes. The 5 men were dressed in complete, crimson-red robes with hoods and cloaks to cover their faces. As usual, Diana was in her black armor, carrying the 2 black swords. Facing Diana, the 5 cultivators hovered in the air, far away from Michael. Even from a mile away, they could see the raging storm and crazy lightning streaks in the distance. Just as King Maxim sent a warning letter to the Voldegards, he sent one to Winston's family. As soon as Diana read the letter, she came to Aura through a teleportation gate. Judging by her son's nature, she knew he wouldn't put Voldegards in danger by staying with them. So the next option for him was to use the Holy Church as his safe haven. Hence, Diana stayed close to the Holy Church, expecting trouble. "Who are you?" asked one of the 5 warriors. They were all at fusion stage level 6 as Diana had reached fusion stage level 2. But she had an advantage over them thanks to the primordial flame she wielded. Moreover, Diana had far more battle experience than the 5. "Turn back and leave," Diana coldly said. Normally, Diana would have killed the 5 without a second thought. The situation was anything but normal. She didn't want their battle to cause a disturbance to the heavenly tribulation. Until her son crossed the tribulation, she wanted to keep the enemies as far as possible. But deep down, she knew they wouldn't back down. They primarily came here to disrupt the heavenly tribulation and, thus, killing Ghost without a fight. "We don't know or care who you are. Take your own advice and leave this place. His life ends today." One of them slowly floated forward. His eyes glimmered with killing intent under the cloak. "Lady, you are outnumbered. Just leave," another one said. "It's only 3 against 1, Diana snickered. "How so?" The one leading the group tilted his head. "When I kill the leader in a brutal way, that's you," Diana pointed her sword at the man. "Another one will try to cast a spell, I will burn him alive. The third one will feel reluctant to attack, and I will kill him too. The remaining 2, they always run," said Diana. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. To experience faster update speed. The 5 chuckled. In a blink of an eye, the leader charged at Diana. The other 4 quickly cast various spells. To Diana's surprise, the energy fluctuation she felt around them was several times more powerful than it should have been. A golden sword materialized in the leader's hand. He swung the sword left and right. Each of the rest specialized in elemental spells. Fire, wind, water, and stones danced around Diana. Soon, the fire turned into an ethereal fire dragon, the wind turned into a giant fist, the water turned into a 12-feet-long spear, and stones formed a stone giant. Diana evaded the golden sword. She had never sensed such powerful energies from typical hitmen like them. It was certain they weren't using celestial energy, as the energy Diana felt was several times more powerful than celestial energy. Even with cosmic energy running through his veins, the leader couldn't reach Diana's speed. When he swung the sword, Diana grabbed his hand and twisted it with all her might. N0VL next. "Comet!" the man screamed. He was too arrogant to cast a defense spell around him. Meanwhile, the fire dragon soared through the sky with its mouth wide open to swallow Diana. She quickly grabbed the leader and flew away from Michael's direction. After realizing these 5 were using much more powerful energy, Diana didn't hold back. She immediately conjured the light flame. The bright light blinded the 5 and raised the temperature around them by several degrees. They all felt the smoldering heat from the flames. Diana squeezed the leader's throat, opening his mouth forcefully. Diana willed the light flames to condense into a tiny ball. The 5 of them slowly opened their eyes as the brightness dimmed from the flames. The moment they opened their eyes, they felt a chill running down their spines. They saw the lady sending the ball of fire down their leader's throat. The man couldn't scream but wiggled his body like a fish out of water. His throat melted as hot butter. Soon, blood spurted out from his throat to his stomach, but the blood evaporated due to the intense heat. When Diana let go of his shoulder, his body was cut in halves by the light flames. The remaining 4 shuddered. All the spells they cast ceased moving. Using their shock to her advantage, Diana clapped her hands together, sending a powerful blast of wind. The blast disrupted the shapes of the fiery dragon, water spear, wind fist as well as the stone giant. She followed her blast of wind with a beam of light flames. The bright beam went straight through the stone giant. Granted, the cosmic energy was much more powerful than the celestial energy, but the light flame was on the same power level as the cosmic energy. This was why Maxim Barnes was obsessed with controlling all the primordial flames by himself. Without a primordial flame, there was nothing in the universe to rival cosmic energy. Although the 5 used cosmic energy to cast spells and cultivate, they were still far from mastering cosmic energy. On the contrary, Diana had mastered the light flames to the fullest. She was able to unleash its power more than the 5 unleashed the power of cosmic energy. As a result, Diana's light beam went straight through the stone giant's chest. The stone giant crumbled to pieces. Yet the light beam did not stop. Diana moved her hands, cutting through the fist, fiery dragon, and the water spear. In a blink of an eye, she destroyed all their spells. But the 5 quickly retaliated by casting a bright translucent shield around them. They all combined their energies to form one powerful shield around them. When the light beam and the cosmic energy shield clashed, it resulted in a powerful explosion. The explosion sound was masked by a thunderclap. But the shock wave itself sent both parties flying. "We have to combine our energies," a Thusian warrior shouted at his colleagues. They quickly coordinated to retaliate. Diana clenched her swords tighter. She looked at the storm's direction over her shoulder. In the distance, her son was crossing his heavenly tribulation. Because he was born a god, his heavenly tribulation was much more powerful and dangerous at the same time. The effects of the raging storm, coupled with powerful earthquakes, could be felt even from a mile away. Diana closed her eyes, willing the light flames to shield her body. Soon, the flames coiled around her body, making the Thusians close their eyes. The flame was simply too bright. Additionally, the flame radiated an otherworldly whistling noise. It disrupted their thoughts. Each of the 4 Thusians conjured a ball of light. Only the light balls were conjured with cosmic energy. The 4 of them merged the cosmic energy balls, forming one big swirling ball of pure cosmic energy. The 2 forces were about to clash when a thick blue streak of lightning cut through the sky above them. Unlike the Thusians, Diana wasn't distracted by the sudden lightning strike. She fired a beam of light toward the Thusians. To her surprise, Diana sensed another primordial flame merge with the light beam. It was an icy blue arrow. The light beam grew much more powerful and larger in size when the arrow merged with the light beam. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Netboom. The combined power of 2 primordial flames shattered the cosmic shield. Arg! The Thusians screamed as they were sent flying several meters behind. Each of them coughed up blood. Their skin turned pale under their robes. But Diana did not press her advantage. She had something much more grave to deal with. She slowly turned around, sensing another powerful being descending from the lightning streak. It was none other than Rowena, her daughter herself. "Who are you?" Rowena coldly asked Diana. Initially, Rowena sensed the heavenly tribulation from her flying palace. For some reason she thought about Ghost. But when Rowena reached the place, she felt another surge of powerful energy, particularly another primordial flame. Her instinct told Rowena to fight against the 4 Thusians instead of the dark-robed woman. Rowena tried to see through the dark cloak, but the woman had a concealing spell on her face to prevent anyone from seeing her face. The 2 of them stared at each other without batting an eye. Silence fell over them until Diana opened her mouth. "They were planning to disrupt the heavenly tribulation," said Diana. "I will take care of them. But I want to know about that flame of yours. It's not hell's flames nor heaven's flames. What is it?" Rowena asked Diana. As a primordial flame wielder herself, Rowena could tell the flame the woman held was much more powerful than the cold flames. But there must be only 3 primordial flames: hell flames, heaven's flame, and cold flame, which belonged to her. She knew Noah wielded Heaven's flame and the Hell's flame was somewhere in the fire realm. Therefore, seeing another flame as powerful as cold flames shocked Rowena. In the wrong hands, Rowena couldn't even imagine the damage a primordial flame could do. Even with cosmic energy, the light flames cut through the Thusians like they were weaklings. "Why do you care, holy maiden?" asked Diana. She slowly put her hands behind her back, preparing herself to use the teleportation scroll in her space ring. "You answered your own question. I care because I am the holy maiden. If our two primordial flames clashed, it would disrupt the energies in the atmosphere. You know what that would do to someone who's crossing his heavenly tribulation." Diana looked over her shoulder in Michael's direction. As Rowena's mother, Diana knew Rowena better than anyone else. Rowena may talk less and would rarely show her emotions, but Diana knew she wouldn't do anything to hurt Ghost, the young man who saved her family not once but thrice. On the other hand, Rowena knew if their primordial flames clashed, it could disturb the heavenly tribulation. Furthermore, Rowena didn't think the woman would reveal her secrets. Diana noticed the reluctance in Rowena's eyes. She quickly twisted the space ring in her hand as a silver scroll appeared in her hand. Rowena heard the tearing sound as she immediately sent a sliver of cold flames in the shape of a tiny arrow at Diana. The cold flames grazed Diana in the hand before she disappeared from the area. Chapter 689. Maxim Barnes anger. The remaining 4 Thusians emptied vials of healing potion into their mouths. After Diana disappeared, they seemed a bit relieved. But their relief was short-lived. Rowena slowly floated toward them. "Whatever problem you have with Ghost, it can wait till he finishes his heavenly tribulation," Rowena coldly said. "But if you try anything funny, I will personally visit Thusia with the army of Skyhall. Do you understand?" The Thusians were stunned. They couldn't tell how Rowena managed to know they were coming from Thusia. The Thusians were in a messy situation. On one hand, they were ordered to kill Ghost. On the other hand, they drew the attention of the Holy Maiden herself. The Thusians didn't know the relationship between the Holy Maiden and Ghost. But judging by her tone and look, she wasn't kidding about visiting Thusia with her army. Finally, they just heaved a sigh and flew away from the area. After their figures disappeared into the cloudy sky, Rowena flew toward Ghost. She was shocked by Ghost's cultivation speed. Even she was nowhere close to breaking through to the half-immortal stage. Furthermore, Rowena wondered who the black-robed woman was and why she was helping Ghost. Their decision to wear black seemed more than just a coincidence to Rowena. As Rowena flew toward Michael, she noticed more and more people appearing in the sky out of thin air. They all teleported from all parts of the world to witness the heavenly tribulation with their own eyes. Among the people, there were some familiar faces like Golden Valley Victoria, Morningstar Evan, elders of Aragoth, and surprisingly, her father Ethan himself. "Father!" Ethan's body jerked in surprise. He turned around to see Rowena floating toward him. "What's my pretty girl doing here?" Ethan asked Rowena with a grin. Behind his grin, Rowena noticed a bit of concern. "How'd you come here?" asked Rowena. "Teleportation. How else?" "Olivia was kind enough to let us use the teleportation gate of Aragoth." Ethan looked at Olivia, who had just joined Gaia and Nightmare. "Olivia? The same girl we looked for Noah?" asked Rowena as Ethan nodded. "Don't you remember Noah broke the marriage?" "She was in love with someone else," said Ethan. "So tell me, father, what are you doing here?" "Isn't it obvious? I am here to see the heavenly tribulation just like everyone else." For some reason, Rowena felt like Ethan was only telling her a partial truth. "Where is Mother?" asked Rowena. "Home. Look who came down from her palace." This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Rowena and Ethan suddenly heard a playful voice. They turned around and saw Sabrina. She was with a couple of her friends. Just like everyone else, Holy Trident Academy sent their students and elders to witness the heavenly tribulation. Sabrina tightly hugged Rowena. "Oh, I missed you so much," Sabrina squeezed Rowena. Afterward, she hugged Ethan. Her friends looked a bit nervous around Rowena because she was a pinnacle of existence, the Holy Maiden. They didn't know how to act before Rowena. Ignoring the nervous gazes, Rowena focused on Ghost. The sky above him turned almost pitch black. Webs of golden streaks of lightning formed in the black sky. Additionally, a mini tornado was slowly forming around Ghost. With each passing second, the The storm grew bigger and more violent. The heavenly tribulation affected the land beneath the Holy Church more. The kingdom of Thera ordered the citizens to evacuate Euseus, which was within the radius of the heavenly tribulation. The Guardian Guild and the Holy Church joined their forces to evacuate the citizens as well as cast a defense shield around the city. The king of Thera wasn't very happy with Michael starting his tribulation without informing them first. Everyone who held ill feelings toward Ghost decided to form a plan to curry his favors. Of course, some believed and wished Michael would die struck by lightning, especially the elders of the three big sections. They feared if he became a half-immortal, the influence of the Sunrise sect would grow beyond limits. Michael's allies like House Bradley, Kane family, and Lord Information were elated to see the heavenly tribulation. Once he had become the half-immortal, they would have a powerful friend. Just this was enough for them to overcome their rivals in their respective fields. Moreover, all the newspapers sent their best news reporters to Aur to cover the news of Michael's heavenly tribulation. It wouldn't be an understatement to say the current hot topic of the world was Michael. A day later, Maxim Barnes was shivering in anger. He banged the throne's hand with enough force to put a dent in the handle. The four Thusians were on their knees. Their bodies trembled in fear. "You incompetent fools! You could have ended his life then and there." Maxim Barnes completely lost his composure. When he heard Ghost had triggered a heavenly tribulation, his heart skipped a beat. Even with the cosmic stream, Wuxia did not have any half-immortals. Instead, they had several fusion stage cultivators. If those fusion stage cultivators were anything like the incompetent fools before him, Maxim Barnes realized he's screwed. "Father," Victoria came to Maxim's side, "we cannot blame them, Father. No one could have guessed the Holy Maiden would be there." Her words made sense to Maxim. Still, Maxim couldn't believe they had missed such a great opportunity to kill Ghost. A single spell inside the heavenly tribulation range would have killed him instantly. "His heavenly tribulation comes with a shackle, Father," said Victoria. Maxim Barnes slowly turned his head toward Victoria. "If he survives the tribulation, that's a big if. He will have to join the Council of Immortals. He can't meddle in the affairs of mortals after that. But in case he doesn't join, we will call upon all our allies and end his pathetic life once and for all. This time, I will personally cleave his head off." Her eyes glimmered with killing intent. Maxim Barnes thought about what Victoria had just said for a few moments. Suppose Ghost was just a fusion stage warrior. There were several warriors in the Thusian army who could kill him without breaking a sweat, thanks to the cosmic energy running through their veins. Since it wasn't the case anymore and Ghost could become a half-immortal, Maxim Barnes needed some backup plans. "Cancel all my meetings. I am going to the garden." Maxim Barnes rose from his throne. Hearing his words, Victoria creased her brows. She took a step forward, placing her hand on Maxim's shoulder. "Father, are you sure? Is this the right time?" asked Victoria. The garden was none other than the sanctuary where the cosmic stream is. The Thusians built a portal connecting the castle to the sanctuary, so whenever they wanted to use the cosmic energy, they just needed to step into the portal. "Do not question me," Maxim snarled. Victoria quickly took a step back and bowed. "Forgive me, my king." This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net asterisk 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 asterisk. Meanwhile, Edith and Layla stood on the castle balcony, watching the city below them. Despite the heavy snowfall, the villagers and soldiers moved like ants through the stone pavements. Many were gathering firewood to survive the cold nights while the soldiers pulled several giant war machines such as trebuchets, catapults, and cannons. They weren't preparing for the battle against Ghost but to attack their nearby kingdoms. Maxim Barnes used fabricated maps to claim the nearby lands belonged to Wuxia. When the nearby kingdoms refused to surrender the lands that rightfully belonged to them, he waged war against them. It was not the only tactic Maxim Barnes used to wage war but one of them. Most of the soldiers and citizens didn't even know a bigger threat was on its way to Wuxia. They didn't even know about Ghost's threat. Instead, the citizens were busy with their day-to-day life. After Wuxia's initial overwhelming victory against the two kingdoms, the citizens believed no one in Azair could rival them. The Thusians weren't wrong. After stealing the cosmic energy, Maxim Barnes built an elite unit of soldiers under General Booth's command. These elite soldiers were powered with cosmic energy. As a result, they destroyed everyone who stood against Wuxia. Maxim Barnes invested all the wealth from the conquered kingdoms in his army, making them overpowered. It wouldn't be an understatement to say Wuxia had the deadliest army in Elon and Azer. But no matter how powerful their army was, they weren't a match for a half-immortal. Layla. Edith slowly stepped toward Layla, who was calmly staring at the citizens from the balcony. You look worried, said Edith. I am. You don't have to worry about me, Layla. Edith gently placed her hand on Layla's shoulder. I am not worried about you, Edith. Then? Edith tilted her head. I am worried about them. Layla's gaze swept across the kingdom and its citizens. Wuxia defended against 3 kingdoms and conquered another 3, all at the same time. I think they can survive against 1 man, Layla. Do you know what happened between the Barnes and Ghost, Edith? Edith nodded. Don't ask me about it, Layla. I made a promise to Victory. I am not going to ask you, Edith. Layla's words cut short Edith's words. But you know who's right and who's wrong. End of the day, we all have to reap what we sow, Layla sighed. Just by looking into Edith's eyes, Layla could tell Ghost's vengeance against them was justified. Besides, Layla wasn't stupid. 2 years ago, Maxim Barnes was just a body-strengthening stage cultivator. Many ministers in Wuxia forced him to marry Victoria to a prince and name an heir to the throne. But suddenly, he took a leap from the body-strengthening stage to fusion stage. Not only Maxim but all of his closest allies got a sudden boost to their cultivation. It was obvious Maxim had stumbled upon something much more powerful, and it was somehow connected to Ghost. If you are his friend, you should worry about him more, Layla. He is just 1 man. They are going to kill him, not if he reaches the half-immortal stage. Layla's words made Edith's heart skip a beat. Chapter 690. Stepping into godhood 4 days passed in a blink of an eye. The sky around the holy church was riddled with people from various factions. Despite the raging lightning storm, they risked their lives to witness Michael's heavenly tribulation. The entire city of Ysirius was evacuated due to the storm. The storm destroyed almost half of the houses in the city. If it weren't for the energy shield around the city would have been in ruins. Almost 300 people hovered in the sky, staring at the storm without batting an eye. But they could barely see Michael, who sat in the middle of the storm. As they were staring at Michael, a bolt of lightning struck him. A few seconds later, another bolt of lightning struck him again. Many gasped in shock. For the past 24 hours, they had seen Ghost being struck by lightning countless times. Everyone who cared for him, like Sabrina, Ethan, and Claire, felt like they were being struck by lightning. Gaia prayed to all the gods deep down. She had never heard such a phenomenon of a cultivator being struck by lightning more than 5 times. Every time a bolt of lightning struck Michael, they thought it would be the last one. Many even gambled on his life, betting whether he would die by the next lightning or not. His black robes radiated smoke as they had several burning holes. Fortunately, no one tried to interrupt the heavenly tribulation. To Gaia's surprise, the Alpha Guardians themselves came to ensure everything went as smoothly as possible. Not because they cared for Ghost but because, judging by the storm's intensity, they feared any interruption to the heavenly tribulation could destroy the entire kingdom of Thera. It worked in Michael's favor. Meanwhile, Michael sat down in the middle of a storm without moving an inch. He thought he wouldn't feel any pain because of the system. But he was totally wrong. Intense pain flared up every time a lightning bolt struck him. Every muscle in his body tensed up. His entire body told him to stop what he was doing, stop and find relief from this hellish feeling. He thought his body would go numb after being struck by lightning after some time, yet his body and mind refused to go numb. Michael was unable to block out the pain entirely. Simply put, the pain was like his skin being stripped off alive. However, the pain wasn't the only feeling he experienced. Every time a bolt of lightning struck him, his body became strong. He felt something leaving his body. He wasn't wrong, as that something was toxic and impurities in his body and soul. In other words, the lightning bolts cleansed his body and soul. He was being reborn. The sky looked as dark as black canvas. Many thought it was the result of the storm and the snowy weather. But in reality, the darkness was a result of Michael stepping into his godhood. Luckily for Michael, Skyhall had no instructions or texts about the Dark Lord's godhood. Furthermore, they were absolutely certain that Hunter was the Dark Lord. Since he was at the celestial stage, the Skyhall elders completely ignored Michael's heavenly tribulation. As far as they were concerned, Ghost was a prodigy, nothing more and nothing less. Regardless, Michael's excitement slowly rose in his heart. He had received millions of badass points, and the system used them to upgrade his spells. Several hours later, blue, glowing words appeared in his pitch-black vision. Ultimate form of spell Ignitia has been unlocked. Ultimate form of spell Wind Blast has been unlocked. Ultimate form of spell Lightning Dash has been unlocked. Ultimate form of spell Eyes of Doom has been unlocked. The word ultimate was alone enough to make him feel excited beyond words. He couldn't wait to see the ultimate form of the spells. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. To experience faster update speed, at level 1, the ultimate spells can only be used once a day. The system's words somewhat diluted his excitement, yet he expected a catch. Congratulations to the host for stepping into the godhood. Current godhood level, fledgling god. The host can find seeds of darkness and achieve certain feats to level up your godhood. The higher the godhood level, the more powers will be unlocked. Finally, Michael had taken his first step into his godhood. As a result, almost every single skill and spell in Michael's arsenal got a boost in power. All of the host's elemental mastery except darkness has doubled. Wind mastery reached 20%. Lightning mastery reached 30%. Fire mastery reached 20%. Darkness mastery reached 35%. Except for darkness, which went from 25% to 35%, all of his elemental mastery had doubled. Michael was elated by the system notifications. His suffering and the pain he experienced were worth it. He felt more powerful and stronger than ever before. More and more lightning bolts struck Michael, but the pain he felt was nowhere close to the pain he had felt earlier. His body had become strong and powerful beyond any mortal limit. He lost track of time. Finally, he heard the system's voice again. Congratulations to host for reaching the half-immortal stage level 1. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. Michael heaved a sigh of relief in his mind. But it was only the 4th day of his tribulation. On the other hand, those who were staring at Michael felt a sudden power surge in the air. Almost hundreds of golden lightning bolts struck the holy church at the same time. The rumbling thunder almost pierced their eardrums. As a result of the power surge, the storm grew several times more violent. The howling wind pushed everyone back. Hundreds of lightning bolts streaked across the sky, almost turning the dark sky golden. As a result of these lightning strikes, the red maple leaves turned white. The lightning bolts bleached the red maple trees. The rumbling thunder almost sounded like the sky itself split open. They all feared for their lives. Even the fusion stage cultivators flew a mile back from the storm. The phenomenon continued for almost 5 hours. Afterward, the lightning bolts disappeared from the sky. Instead, the pitch-black sky and raging storm completely enveloped the holy church. None of them could see what was happening inside the storm. His heavenly tribulation caused the ocean surrounding Ar to become unstable and prone to violent waves. Gigantic tsunami waves rushed toward the land from all directions. Even the Golden Princess and court mages of the Empress herself came out of seclusion to cast energy barriers around the continent. Some of the peasants who witnessed these giant waves, trembling ground, and dark sky thought it was the end of the world. One couldn't blame them. After all, anyone would freak out when the day suddenly turns into night. Inside the storm, everything turned pitch black. The only source of light inside the storm was the glowing runes around Michael and on the holy church building. If it weren't for these runes, the gravitational pull would have stripped the maple trees and the church itself off the ground. Soon, seconds turned into minutes, and minutes turned into hours. When the final day of his tribulation arrived, every single kingdom in the Ar continent felt the effects of his tribulation. There was no one in Ar who didn't hear the rumbling thunder and see streaks of lightning in the sky. Novelbin, it's time, Nightmare said to Gaia. It had been 5 days since Michael triggered his heavenly tribulation. Gaia and everyone noticed the storm slowing down. The dark storm clouds gradually passed away, letting the light pass through the sky. Eventually, they were able to see Michael's silhouette in the middle of the storm. Ethan and Sabrina heaved a sigh of relief. Michael slowly opened his eyes. His skin and hair glowed. In a few seconds, his short hair grew several inches to reach his lower neck. Coupled with a stubble beard, Michael looked dashing. The tattered robes vanished into thin air, and instead, new black robes enveloped his body. As usual, he wore a long black coat with matching black pants. The coat was etched with a silver lining and made of thick fabric. Instead of a black turtleneck, Michael chose black leather armor with protective chest plates. Finally, he completed his wardrobe with black boots and tactical fingerless gloves. Michael's gaze swept across the sky. He noticed hundreds of cultivators staring at him. Without making them wait any longer, he slowly ascended to the sky. Novel Top 1. Orgy. Everyone remained still in fear. A half-immortal was a pinnacle of existence who could end their lives with a single spell. Plus, no matter how many spells they could cast, they wouldn't be able to kill him, even if they all attacked him together. As expected, Gaia and Nightmare were the first two to fly toward him. When they reached him, their eyes went wide. Gaia's jaw dropped a few inches down. They were different from the rest. The cultivators who saw Michael were beyond shocked. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. He wasn't at the half-immortal level 1 but level 3. The system harnessed the power of the lightning using the energy devourer. As a result, he was able to jump from level 1 to level 3 in one go. One by one, Michael's close friends and allies moved closer to him. "I can't believe it," Gaia gasped. "You are a freaking half-immortal." Claire and the others, including Ethan, surrounded him. But before Michael could greet them, an ear-deafening thunderclap echoed through the sky. A bright light emerged in the sky. The light was bright enough to resemble the sun. They all looked up as the light slowly descended toward Michael. Everyone couldn't help closing their eyes. Fortunately, the light slowly dimmed, revealing a man with a long white beard and hair. An immortal. Several people gasped in shock. But Michael remained calm because he knew who he was, at least where he was coming from. Michael flew higher to meet the old man. The man looked at Michael with a gentle smile. Yet behind that gentle smile was a sliver of shock. "Young man, I am here to take you to the Council of Immortals." The old man's calm voice sounded like a giant bell. Chapter 691. Refusing to join the council. No. Michael outright rejected the old man's offer. His words startled everyone, including the old man. The immortal creased his brows. He wondered whether the young man heard him right or not. "If I join the council, will you let me destroy Wuxia?" Michael questioned the old man. His words were loud enough for everyone to hear. As expected, the old man shook his head. "As a half-immortal, you cannot meddle in any mortal affairs. You have to let go of your hatred. You cannot achieve immortality with it," Michael snickered. "My hatred toward Wuxia knows no bounds. I don't want or need the council. I appreciate the offer, but I am not going to join," Michael said. He was nonchalant. N0VL next. Calm, think about it once again. This will be the first and last time you will get an offer to join the council. If you reject it, you won't get it forever. "Okay," Michael rubbed his chin. "Can you wait until after I settle my scores with Wuxia?" asked Michael. But as expected, the old man shook his head. "No. You have to make your decision now. Then my answer is no. I won't join the council." The old man just sighed inside his mind. He was not any run-of-the-mill cultivator to get offended by Michael's choice. Like almost all the immortals, the old man trained his mind and body to keep his emotions in check. The only emotion he felt was pity. It was very unfortunate to see a talented young man like Ghost waste his potential due to hatred and vengeance. But he made his choice, and there was nothing he or the council could do. Without the young man joining the council, no one could control his actions. Therefore, the old man knew if the young man decided to wreak havoc in the world, the responsibility of stopping him would fall on the Guardian Guild's shoulders. He was a human, so among the 8 great clans, the human-centric Guardian Guild had to control him. "I hope your enmity is worth wasting your life," the old man said as he slowly ascended to the sky. "We shall never meet again," the old man calmly said before turning himself into bright light and disappearing into the cloudy sky. Once the immortal disappeared from their sight, the people heaved a sigh of relief. Although Claire seemed to have an opinion of her own, she didn't speak her mind. Ghost was no longer a disciple or a typical cultivator of her standards. Rather, Ghost was a half-immortal, and it was not her place to advise him anymore. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. He smiled at Claire before looking at everyone hovering in the sky. "Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I had met you under different circumstances. But as soon as I finish my little task, I will hold a grand gala celebrating my achievement. I hope everyone will attend with your loved ones. I am sure we have a lot to talk about making this world a better place, said Michael. Many were pleasantly surprised by Michael's words. Unlike the thought, he was neither too arrogant nor prideful. Instead, his words were friendly and warm. He looked like a person they could be friends with him. Member of the council or not, all of them wanted to be Michael's friend. Having a half-immortal by their side would give them a massive advantage over their rivals. But those who had a friendly relationship with Wuxia broke into a sweat. He chose not to join the council because of his hatred toward Wuxia. No matter what it was, Wuxia was in trouble. None of them thought Wuxia could survive the wrath of a half-immortal like Michael. Even if Wuxia managed to defeat him somehow, the battle would leave the kingdom in ruins. At that time, Wuxia's enemy kingdoms would pick the flesh off the bones like vultures. Either way, Wuxia was screwed. However, only Michael knew destroying Wuxia was not as simple as it sounds. With the cosmic stream, Maxim Barnes could become a half-immortal any time. According to Michael's plan, by the time he and Maxim meet on a battlefield, Wuxia would be nothing but a ruin. Michael didn't linger around for long. He just exchanged a few pleasant words with his friends and allies before heading toward Wuxia with Gaia and Nightmare. His destination was a kingdom that was currently at war with Wuxia, Kingdom Zulon. The continent of Aur contained 5 kingdoms: Kingdom Zulon, Kingdom Suvan, Kingdom Adrizel, Kingdom Northgard, and Kingdom Ithilin. But everything changed when Wuxia claimed Kingdom Ithilin belonged to Wuxia. King Maxim Barnes waged an overseas war against Ithilin, and to everyone's surprise, he conquered Ithilin using his mighty army. At that time, no one guessed King Maxim would decide to move his entire kingdom from the Elon continent to the Azer continent. He sold the land in Elon to Royal Land and Draddle. His decision was unheard of. It took Maxim 5 months to transport the citizens from Elon to Azer. He decimated the once proud kingdom of Ithilin and transformed it into new Wuxia. He didn't stop with Ithilin. A month after settling into Azer, he provoked the Northgard, forcing them to wage war against Wuxia. The result of the war was the same. King Maxim Barnes decimated Northgard to become the largest kingdom and superpower in Azer. All of it was possible because of the Wuxian Special Force and General Booth. King Maxim used every single tactic, whether it was dirty or not, to win wars. One by one, cities and villages fell to the might of the Wuxian army. He burned down the villages that refused to surrender, and tamed the cities that opened their gates to the Wuxian army. In the span of 1 year, King Maxim Barnes conquered 2 kingdoms and built an army powerful enough to rival the superpowers in Aur itself. The entire Azer continent was thrown into war because of one man, King Maxim Barnes. Except for Adrizel that initiated a secret shady deal with Maxim, every other kingdom was at war. Michael's destination Zulon was on the verge of getting conquered by Wuxia. Except for their capital, every city and village had fallen under the might of the Wuxian army. The city of Westborough was built amidst the ivory fields of snow and was truly a contemporary wonder. Its wonder was matched by the backdrop of a gentle mountain which has helped shape the city into what it is today. The resources these mountains brought were of great importance, but they were also influential when it came to architectural designs, as the vast majority of buildings have been built in the shape of those same mountains. N0VL next. Coem. Even the war couldn't mask the beauty of Westborough, as it looked luxuriant. With its ashwood rooftops, oakwood walls, and foggy fields, the city had a seductive atmosphere. The main attraction was the towering 5-story building in the middle of the city. It was built by orcs to educate the children in Zulon regardless of their race, social status, and wealth. Under the Orc King, Balador, Zulon prospered for ages without war or any sort of struggle until Wuxia waged war against them. Nov LB in COM. Science and development was flourishing in Zulon, and it had attracted a lot of attention. The orcs maintained a peaceful relationship with all the nearby kingdoms. One could think orcs were a ruthless, brutal race by their looks. On the contrary, orcs lived a peaceful life. They were gentle, kind, and caring. They didn't even bother to build a big enough army to defend themselves in case of invasion. It was a mistake and a vulnerability that Maxim Barnes took full advantage of. Without a strong army to fend off the invaders, every city and village in Zulon fell to the Wuxian army like dominoes. No amount of science and education could save Zulon from the might of Wuxia. At the moment, Captain Yagner sat inside his room, rummaging through the scrolls on his table. The candlelight illuminated his green skin and 2 broken tusks sticking out of his mouth. A few weeks ago, he was on duty to protect Prince Zorfu. The most dangerous battle he had ever gone through was a rabbit wolf they came across when they went hunting in the nearby forest. But suddenly, everything changed. General Orkavai died in the hands of General Maddox the Mad, one of the most ruthless generals serving under King Maxim. As a result, Captain Yagner became the new general. It was a promotion Yagner had never wished for. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net General Yagner. Suddenly, a dwarf came into the room running. The dwarf's chest rose and fell in a certain rhythm. "What is it?" asked Yagner. The dwarf opened and closed his mouth as no words escaped his mouth. "Nov lb in." "Sium, take a deep breath," said Yagner. The dwarf took not one but few deep breaths. Yagner saw the glimmering fear in the dwarf's eyes. "General Maddox. He and his men are on their way to here. They will reach the city by dusk, and they are not alone." Yagner creased his thick brows. "What do you mean they are not alone?" "He's bringing hostages. They are all from Lawson village." Yagner clenched his fist. He slammed the table before rising from his chair. "Lawson village?" His thick voice was filled with uncontrollable rage and fury. Lawson village was his birthplace. He grew up there. What made him more furious was that the village was located far away from the path leading to Westborough. This meant Maddox went out of his way to assault the village and capture the villages. Deep down, he knew why Maddox did that. He wanted to use the villagers as leverage to make Yagner open the city gates. "What do we do, General Yagner?" asked the dwarf. "Send the word to His Majesty. We will do everything in our power to save both the city and the villagers," Yagner said. But both the dwarf and Yagner knew saving one was impossible, let alone the two. At this time, they could only pray for a miracle. "Yes, General Yagner." The dwarf bowed quickly before running out of the room. After the dwarf left the room, the fury and anger in Yagner's eyes turned into fear. "I just wanted everything to be over." He collapsed onto the chair. In a few hours, General Maddox would be at his doorsteps. Yagner hoped His Majesty has a way to save his villagers. However, it was highly unlikely anyone would sacrifice an entire city for a village of 100 lives. "What would you have done, General Orkavai?" Yagner asked himself. General Orkavai was their hope to fend off the invaders. He was a master tactician and an honorable fighter. But even Orkavai fell to the blades of General Maddox. Maddox broke Zulon's soldiers' spirit by burning Orkavai alive in front of their eyes. Yagner could only imagine what Maddox would do to the villagers if they refused to open the city gates. Chapter 692. Gathering storm with the setting sun came a sky of fire, the orange of every wintry hearth. It was the battle cry to the gathering night that the only achievement of darkness was to raise the chillness in the air. The heavy snow flow blanketed everything around Westborough. The whiteness stretched across as far as one could see. Atop the city walls, Yagner waited for Maddox and his battalion to arrive. The eerie howling wind carried the sound of children crying in fear. Even the grown men under his command shivered, not due to the coldness but due to the fear. None of them had any real battle experience. The soldiers formed a line atop the city wall, carrying a torch in their hands which provided them light and much-needed warmth. "General," a dwarven woman whispered. Just like everyone else, she was in metal armor, armed to the teeth. She held a battle axe in one hand and the torch in the other. "What were His Majesty's orders?" asked the dwarven woman. The dwarves were capable of many things, but keeping their mouths shut wasn't one of them. After reporting to Yagner, Grimjaw, the dwarf who reported about Maddox's arrival, spread the news about Lawson village to the entire army. Those who knew Yagner personally worried about him as Lawson village was his birthplace. "He ordered me not to open the gates under any circumstances," Yagner sighed. As much as he wanted to save Lawson village, his first duty was to King Balladur. He had sworn an oath to serve His Majesty until he drew his last breath. To this moment, Yagner served Balladur, obeying every single one of his orders, and Yagner didn't think he could do otherwise now. "So this is it, huh?" The dwarven woman nervously chuckled. "This is how the great nation of Zulon makes its last stand against Thusia." Although everyone knew how the battle would end, none of them dared to speak out loud. Their entire army consisted of thousands of men, and currently, 400 troops were stationed in the city to defend the king. But General Maddox had 600 troops with 3 fusion stage cultivators. Most of their troops were at either the body strengthening stage or the core formation stage. On the contrary, The weakest of soldiers of Maddox was at the core formation stage. The power gap between the two armies was huge. Not to mention Maddox was a fusion stage warrior who was several times stronger than Yagner. The only advantage Westboro had was the heavy snowfall and the defense arrays around the city. If they were lucky, they could outlast Maddox and his men and survive the siege. At least Westboro had enough food to last a year. But Yagner doubted Maddox didn't know about this. "We will fight to our last breath, Saren," said Yagner. Despite the fear and concern, Yagner sounded brave. For the sake of his men, he had to be. Otherwise they were as good as dead. "Look!" Saren pointed at the distant land where Yagner vaguely saw several dots of light. They all heard the clumping sound in the air made by a pack of horses. Soon, the dots of lights grew brighter. Little by little, Yagner saw the silhouettes of several figures. "They are here," said Saren. "Sound the horn," Yagner ordered his men. The next moment, his men sounded the horn. The sound echoed through the city, silencing everyone. The cries of children were cut short by the horn. Silence swept across the city. Even the howling wind seemed to have died down. Suddenly, a bright light appeared amidst the torches in the distance. The ball of light lit the place, shedding light on Maddox and his men. Maddox was a giant of a man who sat atop a growling buffalo instead of a horse. He was easily a 7-foot man with a large pot belly. Unlike Yagner and his men, Maddox and his men wore animal fur and pelt as clothes. Maddox himself wore a wolf's head atop his head. Furthermore, Maddox made a chain out of his fallen foe's ears and wore it around his neck to terrify his enemies. Rumor had that Maddox was a cannibal who lusted over human flesh. Judging by his look, Yagner couldn't help thinking the rumor had some truth to it. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. The ball of light slowly grew brighter. To Yagner's shock, he saw several villages nailed to wooden poles and carried by fellow villagers. Men and women bled on the wooden pole. They were all naked, with several scratches and cuts on their bodies. The soldiers of Maddox were animals. They ravaged the women in the village, pillaged their homes, and burned it to the ground. Many villagers wanted to kill themselves, but Maddox didn't even let the villagers take their own lives. Because for him, their lives had value. In the severe cold, the villagers shuddered. They all looked half dead. Maddox didn't show a shred of mercy. He stripped the clothes of everyone, including the children. Yagner's blood boiled seeing the state of his fellow villagers. "My dear Zulons," Maddox's words echoed through the air. "You have a nice home. Aren't you going to welcome us? Your people," Maddox looked at the naked villagers in shackles, "are cold and need warmth. Otherwise they might die." Maddox pretended to be sad for the villagers. "Open the gates. Save your people," said Maddox. Seeing the state of the villagers, Yagner was tempted to open the gates. Yet if he opened the gates, there was a possibility of Maddox slaughtering everyone in the city just to bring Zulon to its knees. People called Maddox the Mad for a reason. Maddox's cold gaze swept across the city gates. His gaze slowly turned toward a young man who was nailed to a wooden pole. Novel Top 1. Or G, your people refuse to open the gates for you. Yet they call me mad. Maddox slowly shook his head. "Let me take care of your need for warmth." Yagner saw Maddox reaching out for the young man sitting atop the buffalo. But suddenly, a stream of fire shot out of Maddox's hand toward the young man. A scream of agony echoed through the area. Everyone felt a chill crawling down their spines. The young man screamed and squirmed. The smell of burning flesh traveled in the cold air. His scream lasted for almost a minute until the young man turned into ashes. "Open the gates," one of the villagers screamed. "Listen to your people. Avoid this needless bloodshed. We both know you cannot defeat us. Open your gates and swear your loyalty to His Majesty Maxim Barnes." Maddox let his words sink into everyone's mind. The ashes of the young man were still smoking. His parents couldn't even cry out loud because of the cold. "What are we going to do, General?" asked Saren. Everyone looked at Yagner for his answer. But how could he order the men to open the gates? He learned about Maddox. The man had never honored his words. Yagner knew the moment they opened the gates, Maddox and his men would flood the city and burn the city to the ground, just like they did in Northgard. "So the responsibility of taking care of your people falls into my shoulder again." Once again, Maddox extended his arm toward a shivering old man. Without any clothes on, the old man was covered in a thin layer of ice. The light of life was slowly dimming in the old man's eyes. No words escaped the old man's mouth until the fire shot out from Maddox's palm and touched him. The old man screamed. But his scream lasted shorter than the young man's. The old man's charcoal bones crumbled down. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net Novel Top 1. Or G, open the gates. Bastards, open the gates. Some of the villagers managed to scream as loud as they could. Their fear turned into fury. Another life is gone because of you, Maddox said. He was nonchalant. Their sufferings gave Maddox a sense of pleasure. Despite the screams of the villagers, Yagner did not order the men to open the gates. Until you do, you will see me doing this every 5 minutes. But don't let my patience run out. At that time, I'd warm up your entire city. His words made Yagner's heart skip a beat. The soldiers behind him clenched their fists. They desperately wanted to open the gates. This war was lost. If they had opened the gates now, at least they could save the city and the villagers. General, we have to open the gates. Please, give us the order. Some of the soldiers behind Yagner shouted. It's not my order to give. His Majesty has ordered us to hold the gates. Opening them is not an option. Yagner roared. Where is His Majesty now? A soldier among them shouted. His question riled up the others. Fear overshadowed their loyalty. One by one, the soldiers began to question the orders given to them. To their surprise, Maddox burned another villager alive. He didn't keep his word about burning one every 5 minutes. Not even 2 minutes had passed since he burned the old man when he decided to burn another one. This is bullshit. Let's open the gates. I won't let my family burn to death because of some stupid order. A group of soldiers containing dwarves and humans jumped down from the city gates. Chaos broke out among the soldiers. Anyone who touches the gate will be tried for treason. Sarin shouted. It's better than burning alive. The rebels shouted. Although the other soldiers didn't step out of the line, they didn't stop the rebels either. Looking at the chaos on top of the city walls, Maddox and his men laughed. They licked their lips. Any oblivious man could tell these men don't have any kindness in their hearts. Stop them. Inside the city, Yagner saw the rebels rushing toward the gates. He immediately ordered his men to stop them. But the soldiers seemed reluctant. Yagner closed his eyes for a moment as a dark spear materialized in his hand. He prepared himself to stop the soldiers himself. He was about to leap down to the ground from the city wall when a thunderclap reverberated through the area. Streaks of lightning riddled the sky above them. They all looked above. The flashes of lightning revealed the swirling dark clouds in the sky. A storm? Sarin tilted her head with a doubtful look. Chapter 693. Ultimate wind blast. The storm grew more and more intense. In a couple of seconds, streaks of lightning cut through the dark sky. The flashes of lightning turned the night into day. Maddox and his men stopped laughing. They all looked up at the sky. The ferocious storm clouds threatened them. But suddenly, everything became dead silent. What's happening? Sarin asked. The rebels halted their moves. Out of the blue, a golden lightning bolt struck the land between Maddox's men and the city walls. Atop the city walls, Sarin and Yagner saw a cloud of smoke emerge from the ground where the lightning struck. They vaguely saw a figure standing inside the cloud of smoke. A ball of light hovered above Maddox's men, lighting the place. It illuminated the young man in complete black robes. As soon as the soldiers saw the young man, they shuddered. Maddox's buffalo groaned, stepping back in fear. No way, Sarin mumbled. Every single one in the area felt a chill running down their spine. The young man was a half-immortal. The energy radiation they saw around him was devastating. For the first time, a sliver of fear emerged in Maddox's eyes. General, that lad is a half-immortal, Sarin shivered. Who is he? Yagner mumbled. As they were staring at Michael, a thunderous roar echoed through the sky. The people were terrified by the roar. Maddox and his men were completely caught off guard when a stream of fire appeared from the sky. The fire separated the villagers from Maddox and his men. Before Maddox could react, the villagers disappeared. Yagner looked up at the sky to see a shadow of a monstrous creature above the clouds. A dragon. Sarin recognized the creature by the shadow. Maddox's buffalo shook its head frantically until it received a powerful slap from its rider. Maddox saw an empty field through the flames. All the villagers had disappeared from his sight. Everything from the young man's arrival to the disappearance of the villagers happened within a few seconds. Even a fusion stage cultivator like him couldn't realize what just had happened. "General!" Suddenly, a soldier screamed, drawing Yagner's attention. He turned around quickly to see the villagers standing inside the city gates, safe and sound. The villagers were gawking in confusion. Some began to throw up where they stood due to the effects of sudden teleportation. Except for shivering and vomiting, the villagers remained safe. "Who are you?" Maddox's shout echoed through the air. Michael did not respond. Instead, he just raised his hand. The air around him began to swirl, forming a tiny tornado. "Defense shields." Maddox realized the young man had started to cast a spell. He barked orders at his men to cast defensive spells. Several translucent shields materialized around them. Furthermore, several golden chakras swirled around them, strengthening their energy shields. Meanwhile, the small tornado that appeared around Michael slowly transformed itself into a crescent-shaped wind blade. The blade grew long enough to be the size of 3 to 4 buses lined together. Plus, the blade created an otherworldly whistling noise, threatening Maddox and his men. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Looking at Maddox and his men, Michael simply snapped his fingers. The wind blade shot out toward them at the speed of an arrow, soaring through the sky. It cut the air itself as the moment Michael fired the wind blast, it created a loud booming sound. The wind blast completely snuffed out the dragon fire around Maddox and his men. Maddox and his men poured every bit of energy in their bodies into their shields. However, the wind blade cut through them like a hot knife through butter. In a blink of an eye, the soldiers were cut into pieces. Blood and flesh spurted out. The white snow beneath them turned red with their blood. "Oh!" Maddox's men shrieked and squealed in pain. Those who were lucky instantly died, but many remained alive. The cut was smooth and quick, so they didn't die quickly. Maddox, however, managed to escape the wind blast by leaping into the air just before the wind blade could cut through him. But his mount, the black buffalo, wasn't so lucky. It died instantly as the blade cut the buffalo into 2 chunky pieces. The howling wind carried the nauseating stench of blood to the city gates. Every single soldier atop the city gates stared at the scene with mixed feelings. They were both terrified and delighted to see Maddox and his men suffer. Michael was surprised to see Maddox's quick reflex to save himself from the wind blade. His head was filled with the sound of system notifications. One by one, the soldiers drew their last breath. The ultimate form of wind blast was more powerful than Michael expected. It cut through several shields like they were nothing. Moreover, the size of the wind blade was enough to kill a battalion of soldiers in one go. No wonder the system restricted him from using the ultimate form of the spells only once a day. Otherwise, Michael could decimate a kingdom's army with a couple of wind blades. Novel Bin Maddox landed on the snowy field with a loud thud. He immediately took the spiked mace dangling on his back. In Michael's eyes, Maddox seemed like a typical barbarian. "I am with the king. Are you finished there?" Michael heard Gaia's words in his head. "About to," said Michael. "You are meddling in the affairs of Kingdom Thusia," Maddox shouted. He didn't find any suitable threatening words. "I know," Michael snickered. In a blink of an eye, Michael's figure disappeared from Maddox's sight. From atop the city walls, they saw a golden lightning bolt shooting toward Maddox. Maddox was stunned when Michael appeared before him. But he managed to swing his mace instinctively. The mace hit Michael's head, creating a loud ding sound. The mace bent and cracked as soon as it hit Michael's head. Maddox's hand went numb. Although the spiked mace looked rather ordinary, it was an epic-class weapon gifted to him by Maxim Barnes. The mace had the ability to freeze its foes for a few moments upon hitting them. Yet, it failed to even inflict a small cut on Michael's head. He simply grabbed Maddox's neck, lifting him off the ground. "You deserve to be burned alive." Michael conjured a ball of emerald green flames on the other hand. Suddenly, a ghostly figure of a bear appeared behind Maddox. The crimson-red bear lunged at Michael with its razor-sharp claws raised. Yagner and the soldiers saw everything with their eyes wide open. The 8 feet tall bear swung its claw left and right, trying to shred Michael into pieces. The result of the bear's attack was just the same as the mace attack. It couldn't even cut Michael a single time. Eventually, the bear disappeared as Maddox's face turned pale due to lack of blood flow. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, but I have some other uses for you, said Michael. His eyes turned predatory. Maddox struggled to escape Michael's clutch. Granted, Maddox was a fusion stage cultivator, but he was nowhere close to a half-immortal in power and strength. Even if Maddox had cosmic energy coursing through his veins, the result of the battle would have been the same. Holding Maddox by his neck, Michael looked at a steel sword on the ground several meters away from him. He reached out for the sword as it flew straight into his hand. Pulch! Michael quickly enveloped the sword with a thin layer of dark flames before swinging it right across Maddox's waist. The sword cut Maddox's body in halves. His lower body hit the ground with a sickening thud. Blood spurted out from half of the body on the ground. Yagner and Saren felt a chill as they began to sweat. Maddox's mad scream echoed through the air. Michael let Maddox scream for a few long minutes. I am going to parade you and your lackeys' bodies through Zulon, Michael snickered. When I undo your months of work in a few hours, I will kill you and send your bodies to your majesty. Michael's words were loud enough for Yagner and his soldiers to hear. His majesty will kill you. Maddox barely managed to utter these words. His words were cut short when Michael put his hand inside Maddox's mouth. To everyone's shock, Michael pulled out Maddox's tongue. Blood and spit sprayed out of Maddox's mouth. Everyone who witnessed the scene took a step back in fear. With a flick of his wrist, Michael lifted all the bodies into the air. He himself slowly ascended to the air with Maddox struggling in his hand. Is he coming this way? Asked Saren. Her question was soon answered as Michael moved towards them. Before they could bat an eye, Michael disappeared from sight, heading toward the castle. To the castle! Yagner roared. If that half-immortal chose to kill their king, nothing would stop him. At least he wanted to fight and die for their king. Under the cloudy sky and heavy snowfall, the castle of King Balador stood majestically. It was no different than any other typical castle Michael had seen. 8 strong square towers dominated the skyline of this massive castle. They were connected by reinforced, narrow walls made of dark brown stone. Small windows scattered thinly around the walls in seemingly perfect symmetry, along with asymmetric crenellations for archers and artillery. A sizable gate with giant wooden doors and archer holes guarded the entrance. Furthermore, a handful of waterfalls flow into various small rivers and provide the precious farm fields outside the castle with needed water. But at the moment, these waterfalls and rivers were frozen and looked like obsidian glass. The soldiers on the ground were caught off guard. Most of them didn't even notice Michael flying straight into the castle through a window. Unfortunately, by the time they reacted, it was too late. Is that blood? Some of the soldiers noticed a trail of blood on the ground. The blood drizzled from the bodies Michael carried into the castle. The soldiers were stunned. They immediately rushed into the castle. By the time Yagner and his men arrived at the castle, Michael was already inside. What's happening? Yagner questioned the men guarding the castle doors. General Yagner, the soldiers saluted. Novel Bin. His Majesty is requesting you. Please go inside. The soldiers opened the main doors to let Yagner and Saren, Yongar second-in-command, enter the castle. Chapter 694. Forming an army eye inside the castle, Michael leaned on one of the pillars. The room he was standing in was rather empty. It only had a long oak table and fireplace to warm the air. Gaia sat on the end of the table while the Zulons sat on the other end. Zulon's King Balador was a half-orc. He was neither tall as an orc nor short as an average human. His skin had a tinge of jade green. Balador inherited his facial features from his human mother and his body from his orc father. Light green, shaggy hair almost fully covered the fine, frowning face of Balador. Expressive blue eyes set narrowly within their sockets, watching impatiently over the newcomers. Besides Balador, the Prince of Zulon remained calm and composed. Because Prince Zorfa's mother was also an orc, he looked like any other orc with his thick green skin, tusks, and big muscular physique. Unlike his father, Corfu tied his green hair into a ponytail. His gaze swept between the girl, the dragon sitting atop her shoulder, and the half-immortal leaning on the pillar. Silence haunted the room. The firewood crackled under the scorching flames. They all waited for General Yagner to enter the room. Finally, the orc general opened the room. Fear and concern were written all over Yagnar's face. He clenched his spear tight. When he saw everyone was safe, he looked relieved. Yagnar heaved a sigh of relief. Your Majesty, your Royal Highness. Yengar bowed. Rise. Balador ordered Yagnar with his surprisingly soft voice. Nov lb in. Xiomyagar lifted his head up. He glared at everyone. They all expected the half-immortal to speak his mind. Finally, Michael opened his mouth. Before we start, let me clear things up. I am not here to negotiate. I am here to tell you what to do if you want your kingdom back and end this war once and for all, said Michael. None of them dared to talk back at Michael because of his cultivation stage. Do you want your kingdom back or not? Asked Gaia. Balador and Zorfu slowly nodded. They both knew even if the half-immortal asked for half of the kingdom, they had to give him. They were not in a position to negotiate. Without him, their own soldiers would have rebelled and opened the gates for Maddox and his men. At that time, they would have lost the entire kingdom. Michael noticed the concern in their eyes. If you're worried about whether I would ask something unreasonable, don't. I am putting together an army to destroy Thusia, and I want yours to join me. Say no, and I will leave you alone. We both know what will happen next, said Michael. They could imagine what Maxim Barnes would do next when he heard his generals were cut in half. By slaughtering the army single-handedly, Michael saved Zulon and put them in danger at the same time. If may I ask? Balador's words trailed. He carefully chose his next words. Why do you want an army, my lord? With your power, you can destroy Thusia single-handedly, said Balador. Because Michael was a half-immortal. Even the king addressed him as my lord. If I do that, it'll be the priority number one of the Immortal Council. It's bullying. But if you fight back, that's war. And anything is fair in war, said Michael. He was nonchalant. As you may or may not have heard, Zulon is not a military nation. Our army consists of commoners with no real battle experience. As much as I hate to admit it, we are weak in terms of military power, Balador sighed. Hearing the king, Michael just snickered. Dying as weak is better than living as a slave. As I said, I am not here to negotiate. Talk to your general and give me an answer. I will give you 15 minutes. Michael flew out of the room in a blink of an eye. The dragon and the girl followed him behind, leaving Yagnar with the king and the prince. Your Majesty, Yagnar called, looking at the king. There is nothing to think about this, father, said Zorfu. Novel Top 1. Or G. We either do what he says and stay behind him or fall when Maxim Barnes sent another battalion of soldiers to Westborough. General Yagnar. Prince Zorfu turned his gaze toward the general. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Tell me if I am wrong. Yagnar shook his head. Your Majesty, permission to speak freely, asked Yagnar, bowing his head. Go ahead, said the king. This is our fight, Your Majesty. We cannot expect that young man to fight for us, and I don't think he will. I saw General Maddox burn villagers of Lawson Village alive. Our own soldiers rebelled against our orders to open the gates. How strong or weak our soldiers are won't matter when we don't even have a kingdom. I know that, General Yagnar, the king sighed. Maybe I am selfish, but I don't want those youngsters to lose their lives fighting a war against Thusia. They have a lot to live for. Father, are you hearing yourself? Zorfu creased his brows. Just think what would happen if the half-immortal left us. The next battalion will break the city walls in a few days. Do you think Thusians will show us any mercy? They will slaughter everyone in the city. Zulon will fall. Like it or not, this is war. Those youngsters and soldiers will die whether you agree or not. The difference is, if we listen to the half-immortal, their deaths would mean a future for Zulon. His Royal Highness is right, Your Majesty, said Yagnar. You are both right. It's time we fight back. With a half-immortal on our side, we have a chance to unify all the other kingdoms against Thusia. After a long pondering moment, Balador rose with a new resolute in his eyes. He was not trained or had experience in making wartime decisions. Zulon was a peaceful kingdom that focused on education and science. Therefore, Balador took a few moments to make an obvious decision. Following Balador's resolve, they waited for Michael to arrive again. Just like before, Michael flew through the window and landed in the room. We will follow you, my lord. King Balador and Prince Zorfu bowed their heads. I would have been shocked if you didn't come to this decision. From now on, she is your wartime general. You will obey every command she gives you. Michael turned his gaze toward Yagner. Listen to her, and you will get your 2 cities back in no time. Michael disappeared from the room after pointing at Gaia. He was on his way to Kingdom Suvan, another kingdom that was at war with Thusia. After Michael left, Gaia turned her cold gaze toward Yagner. I put the bodies of Maddox and his men outside on the ice. Take them, put them in a pike and parade them throughout your conquered cities. Make sure Thusians see the bodies crystal clear. Novel Bin Gaia's order stunned Yagner. He couldn't believe a delicate young woman like her was capable of giving such gruesome orders. But she shocked them further with her following order. Maddox is still alive. He cannot do anything, but he is somewhat alive. So take his body and put them in the front. He is our main piece to break the Thusian spirit, Gaia spoke as she slowly walked toward Yagner. Let's do this, huh? She patted Yagner's back. My lady, Prince Zorfu called for her. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Netnov LB in. COM. Stop calling as my lady and my lord. I am Miss Elia, and he is Master Ghost. Got it? As soon as they heard the names, they were stunned. Zorfu immediately recognized the names. He is Ghost, the 5-star alchemist of Elon? In the flesh, said Gaia. The king and Prince Zorfu were speechless. They heard Ghost was the guild leader of the Thusian Alchemy Guild. So they wondered what had happened between them. What do we do next, Miss Elia? Asked Yagner while the king and prince were silent. Just tell the Thusians you are prepared to let them head back to Thusia if they give the city back without violence. Will they do that? Asked Prince Zorfu. Of course they won't. That's where this little fella comes into the picture. Gaia rubbed Nightmare's chin. I assume you have a portal connecting your cities, asked Gaia as Yagner nodded. Wonderful. There is no perfect time like the present. Let's go. Erected in the southern part of Zulon. The city of Kolfel was home to the majority of the dwarves in Zulon. These dwarves hailed from their ancestor kingdom in Ar, and settled down in Kolfel because of the abundance of mines and ores. The town itself looked delightful with its spruce wood rooftops, copper walls, and huge majestic geyser. Simply put, Kolfel had a heavenly atmosphere. Maxim Barnes targeted Kolfel first due to its mines. He planned to use these ores and metals to arm his soldiers. General Maddox let one of his captains, Captain Hanshaw, control Kolfel in his stead. The man treated the miners and every single citizen in Kolfel like his slaves. It was midnight in Kolfel, yet the black smoke fumed from the long chimneys attached to forges. Screams of women resonated continuously within the city gates. The portal connecting Westborough to Kolfel was located in an open ground. It was an arena with hundreds of seats built around it. The citizens of Kolfel came to this arena to watch dramas put on by various drama groups that visited Kolfel often. Currently, the Thusians used the arena as an execution site. When Yagner, Saren, and a group of soldiers appeared on the open ground, their senses were overwhelmed with the smell of blood. Body parts and blood-stained clothes littered the ground. Patches of blood turned the snow on the ground red. Intruders! As soon as the Thusian soldiers patrolling the site saw the group, they shouted. Be calm. Gaia personally led the group to Kolfel. She told them to remain calm. Because of the darkness, the Thusians still hadn't seen the bodies on pikes. Tell your captain that a fusion stage warrior is here for his head. Gaia's shout echoed through the arena. Let every single soldier in Kolfel come here. Gaia grinned devilishly. Chapter 695. Forming an army. Kingdom Suvan was a small country with a population of 100,000 people. Bordered between a calm ocean to the north, a calm sea to the south, huge, open plains to the east and a tropical forest to the west, the kingdom of Suvan mainly lived off armorsmithing, cooking, and carpeting. Suvan itself was mainly covered in uninhabitable mountains and had a rainy climate, which led to a packed population. The country's landscape was sublime. Soft, foggy fields, gentle hills, and never-ending fields of green were just a sliver of the hidden treasures Suvan had to offer, which was why the kingdom was cherished among foreigners. The people of Suvan were charitable towards foreigners and tended to welcome them with fresh food. They felt foreigners could help the country's well-being until Thusia waged war against them. It wouldn't be an overstatement to say Kingdom Suvan provided food for the entire Azer continent. The kingdom was blessed with fertile lands left and right. In the spring, the entire kingdom would look covered by a golden blanket. The rivers running through Suvan were littered with fish and aquatic life. Many wealthy organizations like Ruby Cuisine bought fish, crab, prawns, and everything that could be eaten from Suvan on a regular basis. Like Maxim Barnes desired Zulon for its mines and ores, he coveted Suvan to make Thusia a self-sustaining kingdom. He wanted to monopolize all the food produced by Suvan. Once Thusia conquers Suvan, all the nearby kingdoms would be forced to accept whatever price King Maxim asks for the food. Starvation would be their only option if they rejected Maxim's offer. However, unlike Zulon, Suvan had a powerful army. Their naval forces sank hundreds of Thusian ships and held off the invasion for months. Nonetheless, Thusia overwhelmed them with their superior numbers. Until recently, Thusia and Suvan were in a stalemate. Thusia broke this stalemate by burning down farmlands and villages. Although it was a ruthless tactic, it worked in Thusia's favor. Furthermore, Thusians blockaded the paths leading from major food-producing farmlands to the cities. By doing this, Thusia cut the food supply to the Suvan army. Without food, the army grew weaker. After all, not everyone in the army could sustain themselves with energy only. They needed food. At that moment, General Bryce of the Suvan army sat inside a tent that erupted on the battlefield. Due to the heavy snowfall in the night, the two sides halted their fight. Still, Thusians used attack and retreat tactics at night to prevent Suvan's army from getting a good night's sleep. Once a golden wheat field mesmerized, the foreigners were littered with gore, bodies, and broken armor. Red, blue and gray were the new colors of what was once a vast, luscious field, which had now become the stage of a bloody war. The air, which would normally carry the sounds of birds, rivers and wildlife, was heavy and thick with the scent of smoke and blood. The mere sense of it would make anyone want to run. The dead of the Suvan army lay in heaps across the field, and the faces of the remaining soldiers were grim with sorrow and despair, but they refused to give up fighting. But in the Thusian camp, singing and laughing reverberated throughout the area. They gained a morale boost after reducing the last of Suvan's army to a quarter of their number. Nevertheless, the toll on both nature and humanity was heavy. It was likely to take a lifetime before this field recovered to its former glory. Its clear rubble, explosion holes, and broken siege engines had taken the place of flowers, trees, and golden wheat fields. General Bryce. General Bryce was a red-haired man with a long red beard. His body was riddled with cuts and bruises. Several bandages covered the wounds suffered in the battle. Despite the wounds, his eyes were filled with vigor. General Bryce was accompanied by several advisors of King Gunnar Lamb, General Bryce's brother-in-law. General Bryce looked up at the man who had just entered the tent. He was one of his knights. The knight carried a parchment. "We received this from General Barnett." General Bryce and the advisors creased their brows. General Barnett was the man who was leading the invasion on behalf of Thusia. The man used every single dirty tactic there was to win the war. So it was safe to say no one in Suvan liked to hear the name, Barnett. "What does that son of a bitch want?" General Bryce snatched the scroll from the knight's hand. The advisors of General Bryce noticed the general's eyes turning bloodshot red. His hands shivered as he tore the scroll into pieces. "General Bryce. What did he say?" asked one of the advisors. "He wanted us to drop our weapons and surrender." Or, General Bryce clenched his fist. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Or his men will feast on the women they captured from all those farmlands. Novel Top 1. Or G. Not a single one in the Tennet remained calm and composed after hearing General Bryce. They all wanted to rip General Barnett to pieces. Unfortunately, they were powerless to do so. After their recent clash, the Thusian army outnumbered them 4-1. It would be a miracle if they held this position for another day or two. "I'd be damned if I listen to that moron. We will attack their camp tonight or die trying. His Majesty Gunnar will avenge us. What say you?" His advisors saw no other way. Their battle was long lost. At this moment, they could only go into blazing glory by trying to rescue the villagers from the Thusian army. "Get ready. Tonight, we will attack those bastards for a change," General Bryce roared. But before they could move an inch, a bolt of lightning struck the tent out of the blue. The advisors and the knights guarding the tent jumped back in shock. "Intruder!" The advisors shouted as they saw a black-clothed youngster standing in the tent where the lightning bolt had just struck. Protect the general. The knight who brought Barnet's scroll didn't even bother to check Michael's cultivation level before lunging at him with his sword raised. A tiny bolt of lightning shot out of Michael's finger, penetrating the knight's shoulder. The knight screamed as he dropped the sword. His armor made a thud when he collapsed down. "Stand down," Michael's domineering voice ran inside their heads. To their shock, they were able to see Michael's cultivation stage. Although the Hydra's shout still affected Elon and Azair, its effects were slowly diminishing. So unless the Hydra used its scream again, the cultivators would soon regain their ability to see through others' cultivation stage. Moreover, half-immortal was an exception. Until now, they had never seen a half-immortal. Hence, the cultivators thought they couldn't see others' cultivation stages. However, when Michael attacked Maddox and his men in Zulon, they all sensed his cultivation stage. It was because the Hydra's shout did not affect cultivators beyond the fusion stage. They took a step back when they realized Michael was a half-immortal. Fear glistened in their eyes. Even General Bryce looked a bit terrified. "I brought you a gift." Michael flicked his wrist. The soldiers almost jumped before General Bryce to shield him with their bodies. But contrary to their expectation, a head materialized in Michael's hand. Blood trickled down from the head. General Bryce was the first man to recognize the head despite the lack of a body. "General Bonnet," General Bryce mumbled. His words stunned the advisors. Soon, they themselves gawked at the head only to get startled. Everyone in the tent looked between Michael and the head. Silence fell over them. Finally, after a few moments of gawking, General Bryce's words cut through the silence. "Who are you?" asked General Bryce. "Have you heard of the saying, 'Enemy of my enemy is my friend'?" asked Michael. "I am building an army to destroy Thusia. Consider this as my gift to sway Suvan to my side." Michael threw the bloody head of Bonnet to Bryce. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, what about the villagers in his camp? General Bryce asked after catching Bonnet's head. "If you accept my offer, the villagers will become my allies. Otherwise, saving them and retaking your kingdom from Thusia is up to you." General Bryce and the advisors looked at each other. "And for your question, who am I?" "It's Ghost," Michael introduced himself. As Michael expected, they immediately recognized him. The name Ghost was famous through Azair and Elon. Even some of the noble families in Ar had heard of his name because of his feat in the alchemy competition. Soon, one of the advisors who researched Thusia recalled Ghost being the guild leader of the Thusian Alchemy Guild. Regardless, the advisor was reluctant to question a half-immortal. "Look, Lord Ghost. Master Ghost would do," Michael interjected Bryce's words. "Master Ghost. As much as I appreciate you taking the life of this son of a bitch, the decision of becoming your ally is up to His Majesty, Gunner. But if you help us rescue our villagers and clean the maggots off of my land, you will have my support," General Bryce said. Michael smiled. "I like you." His smile lightened the mood inside the tent. General Bryce's thought was simple. If Ghost was Maxim's man and this was an elaborate plan, Suvan had no way of fighting a half-immortal. But his instinct told him otherwise. Bryce wanted to use Ghost to eradicate Barnet's men. It could buy Suvan a week of time to reconsider their battle plans. Furthermore, with a half-immortal by their side, they actually had a chance to retake the farmlands and the villagers taken over by the Thusian army. 5 minutes. Michael raised 5 fingers. "For what?" asked Bryce. "To rescue your people," Michael shot out from the hole in the tent. "What are you people waiting for? Put your damn armor on and follow me." Bryce barked at the soldiers and advisors before following behind Michael. N0VL next. Kumi. The time Bryce reached the dark sky, he had noticed a streak of golden lightning heading toward the Thusian camp. It was surprising to him that there was no commotion inside the Thusian camp. "Those idiots don't know." Bryce looked at the bloody head of Barnet in his hand. Suddenly, Bryce heard an ear-splitting thunderclap resonating in the sky. He looked in the direction of the Thusian camps. To his shock, the sky above them swirled as streaks of lightning flashed across the sky. Finally, Bryce saw the Thusian soldiers rushing out of their tents. The sky above them terrified them. They had never seen such a lightning storm before. Bryce heard the eerie howling wind as he stared at the whirling clouds without batting an eye. Every time a streak of lightning flashed across the dark sky, it illuminated Ghost and formed a giant shadow of him in the clouds above. Chapter 696. Retaking the cities, the Thusian soldiers were in chaos, seeing the scary sky above them. Some of them noticed Michael's figure hovering in the sky and began to shout at others. They all collectively waited for General Barnett. Some rushed toward the tent in the center to notify the general. Little did they know Michael had killed General in his sleep. The soldiers were just going to find a headless body on a bed. Without knowing the danger they were in, the soldiers prepared to defend themselves. "What's he doing?" Bryce asked the advisors when they joined in the air. Ghost was just hovering in the sky with his hands behind his back. His long black coat fluttered in the wind, along with his raven black hair. But suddenly, an ear-splitting thunderclap resonated in the air. Hundreds of lightning bolts struck the ground at the same time. The sky turned bright as day. Bryce and his men felt their neck hair standing up. They could feel the electricity in the air. The tents that were hit by lightning immediately caught fire. Bryce saw soldiers turning into skeletons in a split second. Hollow armor hit the ground with a sickening thud. The Thusians didn't even have time to scream. In a mere moment, hundreds of lives were snuffed out by Ghost. This was the ultimate form of ignitia. The spell created a violent storm and produced precisely 120 bolts of golden lightning. These lightning bolts jumped from soldier to soldier due to their high electricity and the soldier's metal armor. The system notifications continuously rang in Michael's head. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is half-immortal level 4. Michael leveled up. Each level in the half-immortal stage cost him a whopping 5 million experience points. So Michael needed to kill 100 Void Strengthening Stage Cultivators or 10 Fusion Stage Cultivators. Because of such a humongous amount, the system recommended Michael find energy sources that could be converted through Energy Devourer into experience points. Bryce and his men felt a chill. They had been fighting the Thusians for weeks now. But all it took Ghost was a few seconds to end their lives. For the first time in their lives, they witnessed the true power of a half-immortal. This was the reason why the Immortal Council was created. Cultivators above the fusion stage were godlike beings. They could destroy an entire kingdom with a few spells. Even if hundreds of fusion stage cultivators attacked a half-immortal at once, they wouldn't be able to kill him. They needed an immortal killing weapon. Even with such a weapon, the odds of killing one would be little to none, especially when the collateral damage would decimate everything around them. The world hadn't seen a rogue half-immortal causing such trouble for centuries. Michael looked down to see his handiwork. The ground was still electrified as tiny bolts of blue lightning crisscrossed the ground, creating a buzzing noise. Not a single Thusian soldier survived the wrath of the lightning storm. Fortunately for the villagers, they were caged out of Ignitia's area of effect. "General Bryce," Michael's words echoed through the air. His words snapped General Bryce out of his shock. They hesitated to move toward Ghost after witnessing such an overwhelming show of power. The air itself was riddled with the smell of burning flesh and melting iron. Furthermore, the eerie silence returned to the place as the storm clouds dissipated. Yet, the horror it produced remained still. Eventually, General Bryce and his men moved toward Michael. They couldn't take their gazes away from the smoke and ash clouds emanating from the ground. "Your people are caged that way," Michael pointed at the forest north of the campsite. Some of the advisors and soldiers immediately rushed toward the forest. They felt terrified to even be near Michael. N0VL next. So shall we go meet your king?" asked Michael. "Master Ghost, can you give me some time to arrange a meeting between you and His Majesty?" This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. To experience faster update speed. Michael nodded. After his ultimate show of power, anyone would be afraid to meet him suddenly, especially a king. Michael knew General Bryce and the king would take some time to pick a safe place and time for their meeting. "Sure thing. You have 2 hours to give me an answer," Michael said with a calm smile. He was not a mere cultivator who would have to wait for a king's permission anymore. Instead, the kings had to wait for him. Seeing the perplexed look on Bryce's face, Michael patted him on the shoulder. "Relax, you guys are not my enemy, and I don't go around making enemies because I am stronger. I give you my word. No harm will come to your king from me." Michael's words calmed Bryce's mind. He might not be as strong as Ghost, but Bryce had enough experience to tell whether someone was speaking honestly or not. Besides, General Bryce didn't think there was a way to stop Ghost in case he wanted to kill Gunnar, the king of Suvan. "We will teleport to your capital. Get your things ready. I will meet you in your camp in 10 minutes. Michael descended to the ground, leaving Bryce speechless. As Ghost moved closer to the ground, all the damaged armor and bones began to float. In a few seconds, a large cloud of ash containing armor and bones hovered in the air. Bryce creased his brows, wondering what Ghost was doing. Soon, a bright light shot out of Ghost, enveloped the ash cloud, and faded away along with it. Ghost dated his arms as he ascended to the air once again. Let's go. A few hours ago in Colfell, Gaia was waiting for the Thusians to surround them with Yagner and his men. After a few minutes, an 8-feet man armed to the teeth arrived at the arena with a group of knights. All of them were clad in metal armor, and except their heads, every part of their body was covered in silver armor. The leading man was Soul Refining Stage Level 5 warrior. His long black beard almost touched his belly button. The knights behind him conjured a ball of light, illuminating the entire arena. Yagner and his men closed their eyes for a moment because of the brightness. But as soon as the Thusians saw the group, their faces turned pale. Even the Soul Refiner, who could scare anyone with its gigantic body, got scared. He took a step back. Why? Because Yaganar and his men carried pikes with Thusian soldiers stuck to them like kebab. Help! An eerie cold gasp sounded from Gaia's group. The Thusians saw something that scared them for their life. General Maddox, he was stuck to a pike and held by an orc. Once terrifying general was missing his lower body. His mouth moved, asking for help. The Thusians saw hundreds of heads stuck to pikes. All of them had their eyes wide open. Even an oblivious man could tell those people died a terrifying death. These are all your fellow soldiers who foolishly attempted to take over the capital, Gaia's playful voice echoed through the arena. And this is your beloved General Maddox. Gaia grabbed the pike from Yagner and raised it above. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net the Thusians were speechless. More than that, they were terrified. Hey Ray Saurofa. Drop your shit and run back to your kingdom with your tails between your legs. Or we could do the same to you and show it to the Thusians in Mainville. You have a minute to make your decision. Gaia lowered General Maddox and moved his hand like a puppet. Her gesture made the Thusians furious. But they were more terrified than furious. They all knew how powerful General Maddox was. So if the Zulons did that to Maddox, they could imagine what they would do to them. Come on Maddie, tell your soldiers to save themselves, Gaia said to Maddox. Her voice was loud enough for everyone to hear her. You don't want him to come here, do you? Maddox's eyes barely had the light of life. But when he was reminded of Michael, his eyes widened. Listen to her. Inform His Majesty. Avenge us. These words barely escaped Maddox's mouth. After all, Michael only gave him enough healing potion to keep him alive. Hearing those words, the Thusians were stunned. It was obvious to them the Zulons broke his spirit completely. Some couldn't even believe it was really their general. We will avenge you here and now, General, the Soul Refining Stage captain growled. Yagner turned his head to see Gaia grinning as though she was expecting this. Gaia threw the pike to Yagner. The very next moment, a long wooden bow and a golden arrow materialized in her hand. Kill them all! The Thusian captain roared. He lunged at Yagner and his group. But his body suddenly exploded in the mid-air. Rain of blood poured over the Thusians. Everyone including Yagner and his men were startled. They couldn't tell what just happened. One moment the captain was in the middle and the next, he turned into a bloody mist. N0VL next. Koam Yagner jerked his head to the side. To his surprise, Gaia had her bow raised. She fired an arrow made of pure first energy at the Soul Refining Stage captain. She imbued 3 kinds of energy into one arrow: celestial energy, arch energy and finally, the first energy. The combination of these energies were powerful enough to make a soul refinager explode like a watermelon. Nightmare, finish them all. Her words broke the silence. The Thusians halted their steps. Suddenly, the area grew darker. Yagner looked up at the sky as he saw a shadow of a dragon above the dark clouds. Just like before, a stream of fire shot down through the clouds. The Thusians screamed in agony. Their armors melted like butter. But none of them could pinpoint where the fire was coming. This time, Yagner was sure. There was a dragon hovering above the clouds. He was sure of it. Although the Thusians were their enemies, seeing them burning to death made Yagner feel a bit of pity for them. The smell of burning flesh overwhelmed their nostrils. Gaia watched the burning Thusians with no expression on her face. She just turned her head to look at Yagner. Take the armors on the ground and kill anyone who escaped the fire. Kebab their bodies and prepare to march toward the next city. Chapter 697. Who will lead the army? After killing Thujan's soldiers, Michael teleported to the Suvan capital, Edgerton, with General Bryce and his advisors. The city of Edgerton was built along the banks of a labyrinth of rivers. It was truly a modern curiosity. Its wonder was matched by the backdrop of pristine skies and the lonely mountain on the horizon. Thick tall walls were built around the city. Snow blanketed the lands outside the city walls like puffy white bed sheets. The winter's cold froze all the crisscrossing rivers as well as the waterfalls. Michael appeared in the sky within the city walls. Although it was the middle of the night, the city seemed awake. Michael heard several cries of little children and noticed people running through the streets restlessly. When Michael looked closer, he was able to see several men lying on the side of the streets, begging. They all looked thin as sticks, as though they didn't eat for weeks. Even the soldiers patrolling the city gates seemed weak and exhausted. It seems like the people are starving, said Michael. As much as General Bryce wanted to disagree with Ghost, he knew it was the truth. Not only did Thujans cut all their supply routes and burnt major farmlands, the warehouse Suvan stored food mysteriously caught fire. General Bryce knew it was the Thusian spies who started the fire in their granary and other warehouses. But they had no evidence to prove, and even if they had, there was no use. Michael decided to descend to the ground level. He conjured a bright ball of light as all the citizens in the streets looked up at the sky. Seeing a bright light descending toward them, many dropped to their knees, worshipping the light. They thought the Great One and Two had answered their prayers. Michael slowly hovered toward the town square. The people dropped everything they were doing and followed the light. Why are you following me? Michael turned around. You go set up the meeting with your king. Michael chased away General Bryce and his advisors. Having no other choice, General Bryce and the others flew toward the castle. Meanwhile, Michael dimmed the light, revealing himself to the people. Those who worshipped the light stared at him with their jaws dropped. They were disappointed. But those who dared to sense Michael's cultivation stage were stunned beyond words. A half-immortal. Someone in the crowd shouted. Several people gasped in shock. The people quickly swarmed the town square. Even the people who were sleeping inside their homes rushed out of their houses once they heard the commotion outside. With a flick of his wrist, Michael retrieved a couple of big crates of revitalization potions. He felt pity for the people of Suvan. These people provided food for the entire continent, yet because of Maxim, they were starving. The crying children reminded Michael of his orphanage. He used to steal from gangsters to feed the little ones. Take this. It will satiate your hunger. The glistening jade potion slowly hovered in the air at arm-reaching distance from the crowd. While the majority of the crowd hesitated to grab an unknown potion, an old man used the little bit of strength left in his body to grab the potion. The old man was skin and bones and looked emaciated. His hunger prevented his brain from giving a damn about whether the potion was consumable or not. He just pulled up the cork and emptied the potion in one single gulp. Everyone stared at the old man without batting an eye. Under their gazes, the old man's wrinkly skin slowly began to glow. His eyes were filled with new vigor. The old man immediately dropped to his knees. He raised his hand toward Michael. My lord, thank you. The old man banged his head against the ground. He was grateful beyond words. His words and gesture showed Michael how much hardships the old man had gone through. Judging by the callus in the old man's hands, Michael could tell the old man was a farmer. A farmer crying for food was truly a pitiful situation. It summed up the city's situation. Following the old man, several people reached for the potion. One by one, they all consumed the potion. The same was the same. Their hunger was satiated in a second. Plus, they all felt revitalized. Strength returned to their bodies. Finally, after weeks of going without eating, the people of Edgerton had something to fill their bellies. Smiles returned to their faces. I offered your king to join my army to end Thuja's reign once and for all. Once he accepts it, everything will go back to the way it was. Michael's words echoed through the city. He turned around to leave the town hall. When he was about to fly away, the old man raised his voice. This chapter upload first at novel.bin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. My lord, please let us know your name. Ghost, Michael smiled at the old man before flying away from the area, leaving a streak of golden lightning. After exactly 2 hours, Michael headed toward the castle. As Michael expected, a group of people stood outside the castle to welcome Michael. The man leading the group was neither too tall nor too short. He had a medium physique, long shoulder-length brown hair, and a trimmed goatee. A golden crown decorated his head. His red silk robes were long enough to sweep the floor as he walked forward. He was accompanied by General Bryce and several knights armed to the teeth. They all bowed their heads when Michael's feet touched the ground. Master Ghost, Novelbin, King Gunnar. Michael firmly shook the king's hand before following the king into the castle. Humble braziers half encompassing each of the 6 ivory columns lit up the lower levels of the throne hall and bathed it in an orange glow. The illustrations of golden wheat fields on the bowed ceiling danced in the flickering light while marble icons looked down upon the oaken floor of this monumental hall. A cardinal rug ran from the throne down the center, looping back from both left and right while matching banners with ornate needlework covered parts of the walls. The chandeliers illuminated the portraits of previous kings and queens. As Michael walked with the king, the nobles standing in the throne hall stared at Michael with amazed looks on their faces. The young girls didn't even blink as they all desired a husband like him. Silence swept across the throne hall. King Gunnar led Michael toward the stately throne of gold, sat amidst 2 large statues, and was adjoined by 2 smaller and less elaborate seats for those closest to the royal highness. The throne was covered in nothing but labyrinthine engravings, and fixed on each of the ornate legs was a gilded petal. The nobles stood before the impressively carved stone benches, all of which faced the center of the hall. Those of higher standing remained in the embellished balconies facing the benches below. Instead of climbing the stairs to take his throne on the elevated platform, the king glanced at the few servants. They quickly ran toward him and placed several comfy sofas. "Please take a seat, Master Ghost." King Gunnar gestured to Michael to sit. However, Michael slowly shook his head. "You are the king. You should sit first." His words pleasantly surprised the nobles and earned appreciation from King Gunnar. Despite his overwhelming power, Michael did not act arrogant. If Michael only wanted their assistance in taking out Wuxia, he didn't have to give a face to King Gunnar or any of his allies. On the contrary, Michael thought about his long-term plan. Even after the war with Wuxia, Michael could use their assistance in various things. Therefore, he needed to be friendly with them instead of being prideful and arrogant. For example, Xiaofan could provide produce for his restaurants. In contrast, Zulon could provide him with rare ores to forge weapons and armor for Michael's personal army. Simply put, Michael and Maxim Barnes wanted the same from these kingdoms. But Maxim intended to covet the resources for free through war, whereas Michael planned to use friendly relationships to get what he wanted. Michael leaned back on the sofa, waiting for Gunnar to start the conversation. He was surprised to see the nobles around him. He thought Gunnar would prefer a private conversation. "I have to thank you for saving the villagers, Master Ghost," King Gunnar said. "This chapter upload first at Novel.bin.net. They were the lucky ones, King Gunnar. There are so many people being affected by Wuxia every single day." "We both know that," King Gunnar and the advisors nodded. "I heard what you asked of us from General Bryce. I am not going to waste both our time by beating around the bush, Master Ghost. Every second we waste talking is 1 life lost. But I have 2 questions that I need an answer to." "Ask away," said Michael. "What's the reason for your hatred toward Wuxia?" Michael expected this question. He just smiled. "Let's just say what Maxim Barnes did to you is just a fraction of what he did to my people and me." Ghost's eyes glimmered with rage, but his voice had a tinge of sorrow. King Gunnar did not poke into the matter any further. All it mattered was that he believed Ghost. The pain in his eyes was real. "Hey, race, my next question. If I give you the Suvan army, will you let General Bryce lead the men?" Instead of answering King Gunnar, Michael turned his gaze toward General Bryce. "General Bryce, if I order you to cut Thussian soldiers' heads, stick them in pikes and parade them throughout the occupied cities, will you do it without any hesitation?" Michael's question surprised everyone in the hall. General Bryce couldn't answer his question right away because he wouldn't do that. "This is why you are not going to lead the army. We are fighting against Maxim Barnes, who will use every dirty tactic there is. Fighting him with honor will only get you and your loved ones killed. But, at the same time, I cannot and won't ask you to change your life codes for me." Michael paused for a moment, letting his words sink into their heads. "May I know who will lead the army then?" "My fiancé, Gunnar was surprised by Michael's answer. In fact, she is doing what I asked General Bryce as we speak in Zulon. When the sun rises tomorrow, Zulon will be a free nation once again. Chapter 698. Rescuing the Northgard. Prince King Gunnar and the nobles were speechless for a moment. Having no other choice and seeing no other alternatives, King Gunnar and General Bryce nodded their heads. Following their agreement, the trio began to discuss the status of Northgard, a kingdom that fell into Thuja's hands. I still have some contacts within Northgard. The prince has been leading the rebels since Thuja conquered them, said Gunnar. I am glad they still have a fight in them. Do you have a way to meet the prince? To Michael's surprise, King Gunnar sighed. Yesterday, I received a report from my spies that the Thujans captured the prince and the core members of the rebellion. They are getting transported to Andover, Northgard's capital, said Gunnar. They will be executed in front of the citizens when the sun rises tomorrow, said General Bryce. He felt pity for the prince. He lost his entire family to the Thuja. Still, he managed to lead a rebellion, hoping one day they would chase away the invaders. But everything was going to end unless Ghost wanted to save the prince. Judging by the look on Ghost's face, both Gunnar and Bryce could tell them he was thinking about rescuing the prince. Although the prince had no big army to help Ghost, the prince was a powerful fighter and ally to have their side. I assume you know the route they are using to transport the prince and his men, said Michael. As Michael expected, General Bryce nodded. General Bryce clapped his hands as a soldier rushed into the throne hall. General Bryce, the soldier bowed. Bring me the green parchment on my table. The soldier quickly ran into the door in the corner to bring the parchment. Michael was surprised that everything was so open. The nobles were staring at them without batting an eye. If there were a Thusian spy among them, the spy would inform everything to Maxim Barnes. Fortunately, Michael did not give a damn about spies. Overwhelming power could always beat strategies. When the soldier returned, General Bryce opened the parchment. Michael saw the map of Northgard. The majority of the kingdom was lush forests and rivers. Michael wondered why Maxim Barnes targeted Northgard because he always coveted a natural resource in a kingdom that he waged war against. Zulon was a metal-rich kingdom, while Suvan was the breadbasket of the Azer continent. Instead of guessing it himself, Michael questioned King Gunnar. Why did Maxim Barnes target Northgard? What do they have in abundance? Asked Michael. Nov lb in. Com. That's the same question we had. Maxim Barnes always has something in his mind. Northgard didn't specialize in anything. They are just a regular kingdom. It has many water resources, but I don't think that's something Maxim Barnes is interested in. He has plenty of lakes and waters in Ithilien. Speaking of Ithilien, what is the state of the mind of Ithilien natives? Asked Michael. Ithilien fell to Thuja first. King Maxim Barnes turned this kingdom into the new Thuja. It was a bold and unheard move of Maxim Barnes. No king had ever sold his kingdom and relocated it to another place, let alone a continent. The reason, however, simple. The cosmic stream was in Ithilien. Even Ithilien people had no idea they were sitting on an energy source that could change the fate of the world. This chapter upload first at novel.bin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. For the first few months, those people struggled against the new authority. But Maxim won over the people. He managed to develop the kingdom out of bones. As much as I hate him, he turned a once poor kingdom into one of the richest in the world. So naturally, people began to accept him as their king, said Gunnar. I heard they even throw parades showing their joy. So don't count on the people or army of Ithilien to fight against Maxim. There is no Ithilien anymore. Michael couldn't disagree with General Bryce. Of course, Maxim Barnes would keep the Ithilien people happy. In fact, he would develop every kingdom under his rule and make them a superpower. That was the reason why Michael was building an army quickly. He wanted to get rid of Thuja before the people accepted Maxim Barnes as their ruler. Even if he was the half-immortal, fighting the people of 4 kingdoms would be a headache. Now back to the topic of Northgard. It's highly likely Maxim Barnes knows something we don't, said Gunnar. That's why we are going to rescue the prince, said Michael. Then we need a plan of attack, said General Bryce. I have a plan. Michael rose from the sofa with a smile on his face. Attack. Asterisk 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 in a blink of an eye. The around General Bryce changed. 1 second he was standing in the throne hall, and the next, he was floating above a lush, thick forest. The forest was endless, thick, and young. Its canopy was marked by hazel, pine, and fir. Sufficient twinkling lights burst through their crowns for a diversity of plants to consume the nut and seed-covered grounds below. Thin tree limbs dangled from every tree, and a medley of flowers, which claimed remnants of light, added some bright touches to the otherwise monotone backdrop. A variety of wild noises, which were caused by foraging animals, added life to the forest and were out of sync with the occasional sounds of breaking twigs beneath the feet of larger animals. When General Bryce focused on his surroundings, he heard the sound of horses galloping. "Shoo!" Michael shushed as he slowly flew through the canopy. General Bryce and Michael noticed 2 cages pulled by horses slowly galloping on the man-made path. For an escort party, they were pretty small. It seemed like the Thusians didn't want to draw so much attention. Michael and General Bryce used the foliage and canopy to their advantage. The Thusians didn't know they were being followed by 2 intruders. "I count 8, General Bryce whispered. To Michael's surprise, they all were at the soul refining stage. If General Bryce, a soul refining stage warrior, were to fight the group, the outcome of the battle would be General Bryce's death. However, the power gap between a soul refiner and a half-immortal was huge. Michael calmly increased his speed. His targets were the 8 soul refining stage soldiers riding horses. General Bryce suddenly heard an otherworldly whistling noise soon. Dark beams shot out of Ghost's eyes. General Bryce wouldn't have seen the black beam if it wasn't for the torches lit atop the cages. To General Bryce's surprise, the black beams penetrated the soul refining stage soldiers. The beams zigzagged from soldier to soldier, putting a hole into their heads. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a soul refining stage level 4 warrior. The reward is 300,000 experience points and 6,000 badass points. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 5,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a soul refining stage level 4 warrior. The reward is 300,000 experience points and 6,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 5,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a soul refining stage level 4 warrior. The reward is 300,000 experience points and 6,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 5,000 badass points. Michael ignored the system word sound in his head. The soldiers fell off the horses with a thud. They didn't even have time to shout. Instead, their horses neighed loudly. The horses were terrified. General Bryce saw several tiny bolts of lightning shooting out of Ghost's fingers, hitting the chains connecting the horses to the cages. HR. When Michael's feet touched the ground, he noticed several figures inside the cages mumbling. Their heads were covered by a black cloth, while their hands and legs were shackled by metal chains. "Prince Devarius, are you inside the cage?" asked General Bryce. They counted 10 hostages inside the cages. Each cage contained 5 prisoners. HR. Michael heard a loud mumbling from one of the cages. He walked toward it to see one of the prisoners shaking their metal chains frantically. Michi sent a bolt of lightning to the metal lock on the cage. Sparks flew as the lock exploded into bits and pieces. General Bryce quickly opened the cage. Yet again, Michael fired the dark beams. This time, it traveled through the chains around the prisoners. Finally, General Bryce helped the prisoners out of their cages. "Prince Devarius, it's General Bryce." "We got you." General Bryce removed the black cloth on one of the prisoners' heads, revealing a dark-skinned man with a thick bushy beard. A cloth wrapped around his mouth underneath the cloak to prevent him from screaming. Prince Devarius stared at Michael and General Bryce in shock. Prince Devarius was a few inches taller than Michael. His body was riddled with scars. No one would tell this man was a prince by the looks of him. "I didn't think you would come to save us," Prince Devarius said in a thick accent. He looked around at the Thusian bodies before spitting on the ground. To this moment, Devarius did not try to see through Michael's cultivation level. "Who is he?" Devarius looked at Michael. "That's Master Ghost. Our ally and the one who just saved you," said General Bryce. Chapter 699. gift baskets to Thusia. Several hours later, Victoria, Edith, and Layla were taking a stroll outside the castle. The Thusians erupted a large field filled with dummies, archery targets, and small arenas to hone their skills. They were greeted by the soldiers with a respectful bow. Layla couldn't care less about the war preparation. All she wanted was to keep Edith safe until Ghost and the Thusians settled their debts. In case she had met Ghost, she wanted to ask for an antidote for Edith. "Your Royal Highness," a Thusian soldier called out for Victoria. They turned around. "What is it?" asked Victoria. "We have received several crates addressed for you and His Majesty." Victoria creased her brows. Neither she nor her father had ordered anything. "Does it say where they came from?" Victoria noticed the soldier's face turning grim. "They are from Suvan, Zulon, and Northgard," said the soldier. "Who sent them?" asked Edith. For some strange reason, Edith had a bad feeling in her gut. "Forgive us, Lady Edith. We didn't open the crates. Maybe there is something inside which could tell us who sent them to us. Lead us to them," ordered Victoria. With a bow, the soldier led the way to the crates. As per the protocol, the Thusian soldiers kept the crates outside the castle in an area protected by various runes. The crates were kept in an open ground. When they arrived, Victoria noticed 3 wooden crates big enough to hold several people inside lying on the ground. Several dogs barked at the wooden crates while the mages adorned in crimson-red robes remained a few meters away from the crates, ready to cast spells in case the wooden crates exploded. "What is that smell?" asked Edith. Her nose twitched. "Blood," Layla answered her simply. The closer they got to the wooden crates, the more Layla smelled the stench of blood. Victoria walked around the crates for a moment. "Your Royal Highness, please don't get too close," one of the mages asked Victoria, only to get completely ignored. "Open this one." Victoria pointed at one of the 3 wooden crates. One soldier nodded as he cautiously walked toward the crates. Several soldiers armed to the teeth clenched their swords, preparing themselves to jump in front of the princess as soon as if something jumped out of the crates. Edith slowly moved closer to Layla. She even grabbed Layla's hand. The soldier took a deep breath before slowly pushing the wooden crate's top. As soon as he pushed it aside, they were all stunned by what they saw inside. The soldier who opened the crate felt a chill running down his spine. "Ah!" Edith squealed as her face turned pale. Several mutilated body parts showed together inside the wooden crate. The strong stench of blood and burnt flesh nauseated their senses. Maddox, among the mutilated body parts, a head was in the center. Victoria immediately recognized the head despite the blood on the face. Edith shivered. His eyes and mouth were wide open. It was obvious he died of great pain and shock. Just the sight of the terror in Maddox's eyes was enough to drain the colors on Edith's face. Even the seasoned warriors felt a chill seeing mutilated bodies and one of their most powerful generals' head. Who did this?" Edith stuttered. To Edith's shock, Victoria put her finger inside Maddox's mouth. She pulled out a piece of paper shoved into his mouth. She slowly opened the paper. As soon as her eyes fell on the paper, she clenched her fist. Veins popped out on her face, and her eyes turned red. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed N0VL next. "Calm Ghost," she growled. Edith's heart skipped a beat. "Open the others," Victoria ordered. All the soldiers could sense the murderous aura from Victoria. After what they had seen, the soldiers could only imagine what the other 2 wooden crates contained. The soldiers opened the other wooden crate with caution. The second wooden crate was no different than the first. Melted armors and charcoaled skeletons were neatly placed inside in the shape of the letter G. Although the skeletons were far beyond recognizable, the crest of Thusia was still visible on the armors. The soldiers shivered, looking at the ash on the bottom of the crate. Victoria trembled in anger. She never expected Ghost to kill her men and send their bodies to her like this. The Abras she knew couldn't have done this. He was kind and naive. Deep down in her heart, she felt remorse for killing him. But not anymore. Now, she only felt regret. Regret for not taking his head. She turned her gaze to the last wooden crate. The soldiers slowly opened the crate. Unlike the other 2 crates, the third crate contained relatively fresh and less mutilated bodies. These soldiers all had holes in their heads. She knew these soldiers. In fact, She hand-picked them to capture Prince Devarius in Northgard. Every single one of them was at the soul refining stage, yet they died the same as the rest. Edith, on the other hand, shivered. She knew Ghost was ruthless, but never in a million years had she thought him this brutal. He massacred these soldiers without a shred of mercy. Moreover, he mutilated their bodies, put them in wooden crates, and sent them to Thusia like gift baskets. He was sick. Even Layla was surprised by the show of pure viciousness. It showed the extent of rage in Ghost's heart. She doubted anyone or anything could stop him from exacting his revenge against the Thusians. "Your Royal Highness." At that time, another soldier descended from the sky. He sweated from head to toe. When he saw the wooden crates and their continent, words didn't come out of his mouth. Fear and shock choked his throat. "What is it?" Victoria growled. The soldier took a step back when he noticed the pure killing intent in Victoria's eyes. His entire body trembled. It was not like he was bearing a piece of good news. He didn't want to upset the princess any more than she was already. But he managed to muster up his courage. "Your Royal Highness, we..." The soldier's voice trailed off as he couldn't finish his words. "We have lost Zulan and Suvan. They had retaken the cities we conquered." The moment the soldiers heard these words, their hearts skipped a beat. Unlike Victoria, many of the soldiers didn't know Ghost's sword to destroy their kingdom and reach the half-immortal stage. The last time they heard, they were winning the war. So they wondered how the hell did they lose Zulan and Suvan. "Our spies," they reported that a group of Zulan soldiers cut out soldiers' heads, stuck them in pikes, and paraded their mutilated corpses throughout the cities we conquered. The soldier swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Many gasped after hearing the soldier. "They also said the sky itself rained down fire upon our men," the soldier stuttered. "Your Royal Highness. Say the word, we will retake those cities in a few days." A loyal soldier stepped forward. After seeing his comrades' mutilated bodies, he wanted to avenge them. Not only him but many shared the same thought. They all stepped forward despite the show of terror. "Fools," Layla snickered inside. Suppose they met Ghost, he would kill them in a heartbeat. They stood no chance against a half-immortal. To be honest, Layla didn't think anyone in Thusia could defeat Ghost unless King Maxim Barnes still had something up his sleeves. "No," Victoria snarled. "Tell the entire kingdom Ghost, our former leader of the Thusian Alchemy Guild, has waged war against Thusia. Show our people what he did to our men." It was a fine move by Victoria. Once the people had seen the brutality of Ghost, the people would brand Ghost as evil who must be gotten rid of. They would offer their undying support to the soldiers, and this would boost the army's morale by bounds. Many youngsters would sign up for the military to fight Ghost. If Ghost wanted a war, she would give him one. "Ghost." The soldier looked confused but ultimately nodded his head. "Yes, Your Royal Highness." "And," Victoria's gaze swept across the remaining soldiers, "bolster our defenses. Gather all the rune masters. I want our capital to be safe and secure. No one suspicious gets in or out of the gates. If you see anything out of the ordinary, report to me ASAP. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. Yes, Your Royal Highness." The soldiers bowed deeply before flying away in all directions. After issuing her orders, Victoria quickly entered the castle. She did not want Edith and Layla to be in the open. It wasn't beneath Ghost to try to assassinate them in the open just to scare her soldiers. "Vicky, what are we going to do?" asked Edith. Her voice stuttered because of the fear in her heart. "We are going to do nothing. It's my fight. I will fight for Thusia. You stay with your sister," said Victoria. To her surprise, Edith stomped the ground. "No. You saw what he did to those poor souls. I won't let you face him alone. Let me help you." "Do you hear yourself, Edith?" Layla interjected. "He is a half-immortal, and you just reached the core strengthening stage. How can you possibly fight him?" Edith shook her head. "I won't be alone. I have you, Vicky and Noah. You're out of your mind, Edith. This is my fight, and I will not put you in danger any more than I have already." Victoria disagreed with Edith. "You don't have to fight. I can fix this." Edith's words stunned both Layla and Victoria. She quickly turned her gaze from Victoria to Layla. Novel Top 1. Or G. "Layla, do you remember you made me a promise to give me one thing, anything I ask?" Layla remained silent, but her silence was enough for Edith. "I want to meet Ghost. Are you crazy?" Victoria almost shouted. Listen to me. I can change his mind. I know I can. Layla, you promised me. Now keep your promise, Edith sternly said. Layla hesitated, as one would expect. How could she let her sister meet someone who's hell-bent on destroying Wuxia and her best friend? Edith dash. Shut up, Victoria, Edith raised her voice, shocking Victoria. It's either you're setting up this meeting, or I can teleport to Zulon and meet him myself. Make your choice, Layla. Edith gave an ultimatum to Layla. But I will be with you all the time. If you agree to that, I will take you to meet him, said Layla. Layla, are you serious? Victoria couldn't believe Layla actually agreed to let Edith meet Ghost. She will be safe. Besides, she needs to learn some things can't be settled peacefully. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 700. Plan of attack. As the sun's rays cast an orange hue on the room through the golden curtains, Michael and all of his allies gathered in Zulon around an oak table. They had the map of Ithilien on the table to plan their offense. With a half-immortal by their side, for the first time, they all felt confident about defeating Wuxia once and for all. We have 4 cities in Ithilien, Yagner pointed at the map. All of them were turned into dukedoms by King Maxim. Golden Port, Diamond Valley, Valeria, and the capital, which is now called New Wuxia. Yagner pointed at the 4 cities of Wuxia to everyone. Michael studied the map carefully. Being a half-immortal didn't mean he could rush into battle half-assed. Just like ever, he planned his actions carefully. Looking at the map, Michael realized why Maxim Barnes picked Ithilien as his new kingdom. Ithilien was a large island near the mainland. The only way to reach Ithilien was the bridge between Northgard and Ithilien. Hence, why Maxim conquered Northgard immediately after conquering Ithilien. The kingdom was like nature's favorite child. Various mountains, lush forests, and treacherous swamp lands riddled the kingdom. To reach the capital, they had to go through everything. Marching through the treacherous terrain of Ithilien would not only exhaust the army but also make them sick, especially on a cold winter like this. Let's assume we take over Northgard, marching our armies through this bridge. Yagner placed his finger on the bridge. It's suicidal. If I was Maxim Barnes, I would destroy the bridge when the army is in the middle of it and end the war before even it began. We cannot fly above the bridge because almost 80% of our army consists of soldiers below the core formation stage, said General Bryce. Michael broadcasted their meeting using the spider on his neck for Vidora to see in the dark forest. He valued Vidora's input as well, especially Kane's. Besides, this would take their mind off of what they had heard from Yugashuku. What about sailing our armies from Crystal Ocean to the Golden Port? Asked Michael. The allies frowned. His suggestion seemed borderline stupid because none of them had a large fleet big enough to hold all their soldiers and fight the mighty naval force of Wuxia. Not an option unless you have a fleet hiding in your backyard, chuckled Prince Devarius. But a smile formed on Michael's face, catching them off guard. They didn't know he had a fleet twice the size of the Thusian naval fleet in the southern continent. Unfortunately, the Guardian Guild knew the fleet belonged to the Dark Lord. Using this fleet would put Ghost closer to the Dark Lord. Many might think Ghost was an underling of the Dark Lord. A few hours ago, Michael was in his room in the dark forest. Vidora and Nightmare slept peacefully between him and Gaia. Unlike them, Michael was awake. He couldn't sleep. My lord, suddenly, he heard the voice of Azazel. Lady Arya has some valuable information she needs to tell you. I'll be there. Michael placed a gentle kiss on Gaia's forehead before rising up from the bed. Since Gaia had to lead an army soon, Michael ordered her to get some rest. Her body and mind need to be fully rested so she can lead the army to victory. Michael put on his dark armor before leaving the room for the surveillance room. My lord, Michael saw Arya kneeling down in the mirror. He placed her in Ithilien, right under Maxim's nose to spy on him. Without Arya's skills, he couldn't have put the blood tonic in Valeria's body. Although it was risky to keep Arya in Ithilien for a longer period of time, Michael decided to do just that. As a result, Arya was able to get some juicy information. King Maxim Barnes has entered secluded cultivation. He has put Princess Victoria in charge of everything while he's away. He's getting desperate, Michael mumbled. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. To experience faster update speed. Michael recalled the conversation he had with the system a few weeks ago before Michael met Victoria in the Aquilon realm. This conversation was what pushed Michael to openly wage war against Wuxia. System: what if Maxim tries to use the cosmic energy to reach the half-immortal stage or beyond? You recommended me to go to war with them, but they do have the cosmic stream. Yes, true. But thanks to the host for upgrading the system could shed some light on the cosmic stream. For example, although the cosmic stream is a powerful source of energy, it's extremely unstable and volatile. Without proper filterings and transitions, absorbing the cosmic energy too quickly could result in an atomic explosion. Michael was shocked but delighted at the same time. Also, if Maxim Barnes reached the half-immortal stage or beyond, as you said, using the cosmic energy without absorbing the energy at a slow pace, his power would be erratic. I can explain what would happen to him in great detail, but long story short, the longer he uses unstable cosmic energy, the more he would become weak and prone to explode. So tell me, System, do you think the explosion would be big enough to wipe out the entire kingdom? Asked Michael. He didn't even flick to ask such a question. His hatred toward Wuxia knew no bounds. He wanted the entire kingdom to be in ashes, just like they did to his sanctuary. Yes, said the System. But the System recommends the host to act quickly. The cosmic stream is not an infinite resource. The more Maxim Barnes and his people use it, the less for you and your subordinates. Michael nodded. Host, you know the map of Ithilien. You know there is no way you can march an army through the land. Your only option is to transport your soldiers via the naval fleet. But if you choose to use your fleet in the southern continent, it will lead people to believe Ghost is a subordinate of the Dark Lord. Surprisingly, Gaia asked the same question to him. There was no other way. If Michael himself fought the Wuxian army without allies, he would be exhausted. Michael doubted Maxim wouldn't capitalize on this opportunity. At that time, Maxim Barnes would bombard him with attacks. The worst-case scenario would be Michael barely escaping Wuxia alive. The best-case scenario would be Michael somehow killing Maxim Barnes. Either way, the revenge plot wouldn't go as he wanted it to. Sometimes we have to take risks. I believe this is my time, said Michael. Ever since he first became Lucifer, he had a feeling that one day, his identity would be exposed. Living two different lives was never an easy thing to do. For some reason, he deep down felt continuing to live two lives would only make both of his lives harder. It took a toll on his mind. As a result, Michael felt his mind wasn't functioning to its full potential. This war might finally end the life of Ghost and start the life of the Dark Lord. As a matter of fact, I know someone who has, said Michael. Really? Yagner was pleasantly surprised as Prince Devarius became excited. With a large fleet, there opened many possibilities for reaching Wuxia. The best one was to go through the Golden Port. May we ask you who and where they have this fleet? Asked General Bryce. You don't have to worry about that. Tell me, how many ships are in the Wuxian naval army? 1,500, give or take, said Prince Devarius. How many galleons, frigates and man-o'-wars? Asked Michael. We don't know the exact number, but our spies saw 12 man-o'-wars among the fleet, said General Bryce. It was indeed a terrifying number of ships. But thanks to Corey and the fleet of pirate lords, Michael had almost 2,500 ships. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, I can muster 2,000 ships. Once again, Michael's words startled them. The way he said it was so simple, as though it wasn't a big deal for him. But throwing them against the Wuxian naval army will be a waste. At best, we will have a few hundred ships stay afloat, and at worst, it would be a stalemate. No, we need to tilt the balance to our side somehow. I have to agree with her, Prince Devarius sighed. He might be hot-blooded, but he wasn't stupid. Everyone in the room knew being at stalemate was just as losing when it came to Maxim Barnes, who seemed to have several trump cards up his sleeves. Where do they keep all these ships? If we can launch an air assault and destroy these ships, we can really hurt them, said Gaia. That's where the problem is. No one knows where he keeps all those ships. It's a fucking mystery. Devarius let out a frustrated sigh. He must have those ships somewhere close by, somewhere close to the seas around Ithilien, Gaia pondered. A pocket dimension, said Michael. Think about it. You cannot hide 1,500 warships from the outside world. It's impossible unless King Maxim keeps all those ships in a pocket dimension. When he needs them, he could summon them. Ghost's words made sense to them, yet at the same time, they made them sulk. The reach and resources of Maxim Barnes terrified them. How do we know this for sure? Asked Prince Devarius. We launch a phony naval attack on Golden Port. The ships must come and go somewhere. We monitor the ships, place a spy and get the location of these ships, said Gaia. In 3 days we will attack the Golden Port. I assume you can get a small fleet by then, Michael nodded at General Bryce. The attack needs to be big enough for the Thusians to take out their big guns, said Prince Devarius. It will be. The smile on Ghost's face reassured them. Prince Devarius respected Ghost without even knowing him because of the hatred he saw in Ghost's eyes. It was several times more than any of them had toward Thusia. I can be the spy who boards one of their ships, said Prince Devarius. No. Gaia immediately shook her head. I need you to lead Northgard soldiers. They need to see their leader on the ground with them. Plus, we cannot afford to lose you, she is right. Yagner and General Bryce agreed with Gaia. Then who is going? Asked Prince Devarius. We each send one of our own. The more the merrier, said Michael. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 701. The meeting between Edith, Layla and Ghost. Michael and Gaia finished planning for the day and exited the room. Prince Devarius needed rest and a good meal after being tortured by the Thusians. Michael stayed in King Gunnar's castle. After the meeting, Gaia finally left for the Kane castle. Michael teleported to the royal land. He himself was about to leave for the floating mountain given to him by Eve's father when he heard a melodious thunderclap reverberate throughout the castle. My lord, Lady Alden and her sister Edith want to meet you, Michael heard Azazel's voice in his head. Layla was still wearing the spider pendant Michael gave her. Therefore, Azazel was able to see everything Layla saw. She is here, Michael said. He calmly walked out of the castle to see several soldiers gathered in the front yard. They all mistook Layla for an intruder. General Bryce stood in front of the guards, fully armed to the teeth. Master Ghost, did you hear that? Asked General Bryce. Michael nodded. General Bryce and the soldiers became a bit relieved after they saw Michael. He waited for Layla to appear before him. To his surprise, only a golden parchment appeared in the air. It slowly floated down to Michael and landed straight in his hands. General Bryce, do you know where this charming shrimp restaurant is? Michael's question slightly surprised General Bryce. This place was very famous for seafood. Granted, this place served delicious food, but he doubted this was the right time to satiate Ghost's hunger for seafood. It's a few blocks away from the castle. Nonetheless, General Bryce answered him truthfully. After all, Ghost was a half-immortal. Show me the way. Someone wants to meet me. General Bryce personally led the way to the restaurant. The place was closed due to the recent war between Suvan and Thusia. When Michael reached the place, he sensed the presence of Layla and Edith. You can go now, General Bryce. You have nothing to worry about. Michael dismissed General Bryce with a pat on his back. Afterward, Michael descended to the ground. The people on the streets immediately stopped murmuring. Many looked at Michael with eyes full of fear and reverence. Ignoring the gazes, Michael opened the wooden door. As he entered the restaurant, he was welcomed by a clean, tidy restaurant. The place was nothing like Hades in terms of grandeur. It had several round oak tables clothed in white sheets. The chairs looked comfy enough. At the corner of the restaurant, Michael saw Layla. Images of their last meeting in the rain flashed across Michael's eyes. When she saw Michael, her eyes glimmered with a mix of joy, sorrow and shock. A gentle smile emerged on Michael's face. But the smile disappeared when he saw Edith. She reminded Michael of Victoria. Michael slowly made his way to their table. Except for a young girl, the restaurant looked empty. Michael slid into his chair and leaned back against the wall. He signaled the young girl to come to them. Just hot water for me, said Michael. Nothing for us, thank you. Edith dismissed the girl. Michael wondered why Layla was here to meet him with Edith. But they didn't utter a word. Instead, they waited for the young girl to come to their table with Michael's hot water. Michael noticed Edith glancing at him with mixed emotions. Fear and anger glimmered in her eyes. My lord. Finally, the young girl brought a glass of hot water. She broke the silence that enveloped them. Thank you, dear. Michael gave the young girl a gold coin before dismissing her. After she left the place, Michael turned his gaze toward Layla and Edith. How are you, Layla? Asked Michael. Doing well. What about you? This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net if you want to read more chapters, Please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Never been better, Michael winked. So tell me, why did you want to meet me? I don't have all day, you know. I have a war to fight. Michael took a small sip of the hot water. I want you to stop what you're doing. Michael almost spurted out the water in his mouth when he heard Edith. Excuse me. Michael placed the glass down with an amused smile. I want you to stop killing Thusians, said Edith. Michael glanced at Layla for a moment. Judging by the look on her face, this wasn't her idea. That was sure. Layla even looked a bit embarrassed of Edith's naivety. So it's okay for the Thusians to kill the soldiers of Zulon, Suvan, and Northgard? Michael tilted his head. No. But it's between those kingdoms. None of them put the mutilated bodies in wooden crates and sent them to Thusia. You paraded their bodies through the cities, Edith growled. However, Michael responded with a slight smile. Let me get this straight, Michael chuckled. You're saying it's okay for Thusia to slaughter all those soldiers, take away their homeland and hang those who resist, but I cannot help them retake what they lost? We both know you are not helping. You're using them. I know what happened between you and Thusia, Ghost. I know. The smile on Michael's face disappeared almost immediately. Instead, a murdering cold look glistened in his eyes. The temperature in the place dropped by several degrees. Layla could feel the killing radiating from his body. She had never felt such killing intent ever before in her life. Listen to me. King Maxim Barnes and Victoria didn't have a choice. I am not defending them for what they did, but they were desperate. If they didn't take it, the Thusians would have gone extinct. As a king and a princess, they did what they had to. Michael's hand shivered. The veins in his eyes popped, making his eyes bloodshot red. His gaze slowly turned to Layla. Do you know what the Thusians did to me, Layla? His voice was cold. Layla shook her head. Novel bin no. And I am not here to broker peace between you and Thusia. I am here to protect my little sister. Michael was somewhat calmed by her response. If Layla knew what the Thusians did to him and came here to ask him to forgive the Thusians, this meeting would have gone in another way. Have you lost anyone you loved and cared for, Edith? Asked Michael. Edith felt lucky that she didn't. But she didn't dare to say that. 135, said Michael. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. Not all of them were grown up. You said they had no choice, right? Do you know who else didn't have a choice? A 6-month-old infant. I can still hear its cries. They slaughtered everyone, but their deaths weren't quick. The Thusians took their time. Layla noticed Ghost's eyes welling up. 12 hours. They killed my people one by one. Their blades didn't discriminate between children and women. They made a bonfire and threw the bodies into it one by one. Are you telling me the Thusians did that because they had no choice? Look me in the eyes and tell me your friend didn't have a choice to spare the infants. Edith was speechless. Every time I close my eyes, I hear their screams, and I see the elders who raised me burning alive. But it's not their fault. It's mine. I fell in love with a conniving snake. When she stabbed me in the heart, she would have gone deeper, ending my life then and there. He became colder. Layla always preferred peace over war and violence. After hearing what the Thusians did to Ghost and his people, she didn't think the Thusians deserved peace. You are no different than the soldiers who massacred my people. In fact, you're the worst. Michael's words were as cold as a dagger. For the first time, Michael felt disgusted just by looking at Edith. You knew everything, and you still think Thusia is better. If I am evil for killing scum like Thusians, what should I call you for sympathizing and supporting mass murderers? You can call me whatever you want. But this war will only lead to the destruction of countless lives. Michael burst into laughter. In my life, I have never met such a hypocritical girl like you. Did you bother to tell your friend this? Are you kidding me right now? But suddenly, his smile disappeared. He slightly leaned forward. The reason you're not dead is because of her, Michael pointed at Layla. As much as I want to end your life, I am not going. As long as you don't get in my way, I will ignore your existence. I don't give a flying fuck about what the reason behind what they did to my people was. This war will happen. And when I am done, Thusia will become history, a dark page in the history. Edith shivered listening to him. Even Layla felt a chill running down her spine. Any oblivious man could tell there was no stopping Ghost from fighting Thusia. The battle between Thusia and Ghost could end only in one way, Death of One. Without the Council of Immortals or any rogue immortals of the Great Eight clans to stop him, he was nearly unstoppable. What about the people in Wuxia? Are you going to kill them too? Asked Edith. If they stand in my way, I will slaughter them in a heartbeat. So you better make sure they don't. Edith and Layla were speechless. Layla knew Ghost was not a goody two-shoes, but she also never expected him to slaughter innocent people to get his revenge. Judging by his tone, he wasn't lying. He was willing to kill anyone without exception. His hatred toward Wuxia ran deep. Layla finally realized that. Tell that bitch her downfall is here. Michael rose from his chair. He didn't want to meet Layla again like this, but her naive sister made it this way. Without bothering to spend any second in their presence, Michael turned around to leave. I will stop you from hurting Vicky and her family, Ghost. One way or another, Michael heard Edith's words when he turned around. Humph. Michael snickered. I can kill you with a snap of my finger. So try to save yourself first. Michael walked away from them, snapping his fingers continuously. Every time he snapped, Layla's heart skipped a beat. She was afraid one of them could end Edith's life. Edith and Layla remained still. Eventually, Edith snapped out of her deep train of thought. There is only one way to stop him, said Edith as Layla slowly turned her head toward her. I am going to brand him as the Dark Lord and let the Guardian Guild take care of him. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 702. Let go of Ghost and become the Dark Lord. Michael used the runic teleportation to reach Big Bertha, anchored in the southern continent ocean. When he appeared in the captain's cabin, he was welcomed by Corey and Eladir. Are the ships ready? Asked Michael. Since he was in his Dark Lord persona, his voice was thick and demonic. Yes, my lord, Corey bowed. Michael quickly flicked his wrist as several golden scrolls appeared on the table between them. Give them to the crew. After launching an attack on the port, they should immediately use these scrolls to get the hell out of there. They will sink their ships, said Michael. He didn't want the pirate crew to lose their lives unnecessarily. That was the reason he spent badass points to buy teleportation scrolls for them. However, the same couldn't be said for the ships. They had to be sunk. 10 ships, waiting for your orders, my lord. But I still don't understand how we are going to sail to Azair in a few days. It'd take at least 4 months to reach there. That's if the wind was on our side. Corey furrowed her brows. Michael turned his gaze toward Eladir. With another flick, he retrieved another parchment. Unlike the teleportation scrolls, the scroll in Michael's hand was sky blue. It glistened in the candle lights. I think you can create this array. Michael tossed the parchment to Eladir. When the dark elf opened the scroll, he was stunned. His eyes glistened with surprise. This is... Eladir's voice trailed off. Follow the steps and create the array. It's only one way, so it shouldn't be too difficult for you. Eladir was still in shock. He had never seen such an elegant array design in his life. Furthermore, the array was extremely advanced in nature. Judging by the runes, Eladir could tell the array work using the arch-energy crystals. He wondered where did the Dark Lord get this array from? Did he design it by himself? Eladir asked himself. The Dark Lord was a terrifying existence. In a short amount of time, he had seen the Dark Lord perform several miracle-like feats. Give me a day, and I'll be ready, Eladir finally said. Corey, put your most loyal men. I don't want any of them to breathe a damn word about this. After teleporting from the ships, this attack didn't happen. Got it? Yes, my lord. Corey bowed before leaving the room. After she left the room, Michael removed his mask, revealing his real face. Sit. Michael gestured at Eladir to take the seat before him. Seeing the grave look on his face, Eladir sat before him. He could tell the Dark Lord was going to ask him something. Sometimes, Eladir felt pity for the Dark Lord. With his talents, he could have lived a lavish life to the fullest. Yet because of the Sky Hall and a prophecy, the Dark Lord had lost everything. The weight on the Dark Lord's shoulder was tremendous. Anyone else would have been broken by the pressure but not him. What is it? Asked Eladir. That obvious, huh? Michael let out a tired smile. Eladir nodded. Anyone could tell he was worried by the look in his eyes. Do you think letting go Ghost and embracing the Dark Lord completely is a good move? Eladir took a deep breath. He took several long moments to think about it. Silence fell over the room. Yes. Finally, after long deep pondering, Eladir nodded. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com. To experience faster update speed, sooner or later, you have to accept who you truly are, my lord. You are not mortal ghost. You're a god. You are the Dark Lord. The prophecy cannot dictate what you do, you can change it. But you cannot change who you are. The sooner you fully embrace the real you, the better. After all, living two lives and keeping your identity separated is taking a toll on you. I can see that, explained Eladir. I have a feeling this war is going to reveal who I am to the outside world. Then it's going to happen, my lord. As I said, you're God. So it's only natural you possess some kind of ability to foresee the future, Michael nodded. Eladir's words made sense. His instincts always kept him out of trouble, even in the worst of situations. I only fear those people who helped me, Eladir. When the world learns Ghost is the Dark Lord, I don't want those innocent people to pay the price for helping me. If that's what's making you worry, don't. The Sky Hall or the Guardians won't go after them. Of course, they will interrogate them using truth pills, but that's a good thing. They didn't know Ghost was the Dark Lord, so they will pass the truth pill test. I know them better than anyone, my lord. They are the good guys, right? How could they punish people who didn't know anything? Besides, Andreas and Wulfric won't let innocent people suffer because of you. Eladir's words somewhat calmed Michael's mind. He heaved a sigh of relief. Finish the array, Eladir. After this war, we may have to face our enemies head-on. Michael rose from his throne, heavily exhaling. A few hours ago, Gaia reached the outskirts of the Kane family castle. She saw several guards patrolling the area despite the heavy snowfall. The snow was up to their knees. Yet the poor soldiers had to walk through the ice in the cold. Gaia landed at the front gates instead of flying past them. She didn't want the defensive arrays to create an alarm. Miss Elia. The two soldiers guarding the metal gate immediately recognized her. They bowed with eyes full of respect. This chapter upload first at Novel Next. Is Elder Ashton Kane inside? Asked Gaia as the soldiers opened the gate. For more chapters, please visit pan 0vel. Yes. Please follow me. One soldier gestured at Gaia to follow him. After entering the castle, several elders greeted her. By now, the news of Michael reaching the half-immortal stage had spread across all Elon. Anyone who was friendly with Ghost got a huge boost in respect they received from the others. The Kane family benefited from Michael's breakthrough more than him. Due to their relationship with Ghost, all their rivals, including the Fisher family, backed away from any rival territories. Some families even tried to become allies of the Kane family so they could escape being wiped out by the half-immortal Ghost. The elders of the Kane family immediately led Gaia to their guest room. They politely asked her to wait till they sent Elder Ashton Kane to meet her. Gaia sat on her chair with one leg atop one like a queen. How may I address you now? Gaia turned her head to see Ashton Kane walking into the room. He dismissed the guards behind him with a wave of his hand. It depends, said Gaia. Depends on what? Asked Ashton Kane while taking his seat a couple of meters away from Gaia. Depends on what you know about Adelia Ashton. As soon as Gaia asked this question, the calm smile on Ashton's face froze. Shock and surprise glistened in his hazel eyes. His silence revealed the fact he knew something about her mother. Gaia pressed him further. What do you know about the Queen of Nagaland? Gaia rose from her chair. Unlike a few months ago, Ashton Kane was not the strong one in the room. Gaia had reached fusion stage level 10. Coupled with the first energy coursing through her veins, she could easily slaughter Ashton Kane if she wished to. After all, he was only at fusion stage level 5. As she walked toward him, the temperature in the room fell by several degrees. I know she teleported here. Is it a coincidence you and she share the same name, Ashton? I don't think so. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. Ashton Kane felt the air around him becoming thick. Breathing became harder as she moved closer. Tell me, Elder Kane. I don't want to hurt you, said Gaia. The Kane family elders were their allies. That was the sole reason Gaia was asking instead of torturing Ashton Kane. You can kill me. But you won't get anything about her, Ashton Kane growled. If you care about her, you have to tell me everything you know. Gaia grabbed Ashton by his shoulder and lifted him up. Why? Why do you care? Asked Elder Kane. Instead of an answer, he saw Gaia's pupil transform into a cobra's. Her snake-like eyes turned predatory. Ashton Kane's heart skipped a beat. Not because of the sudden change in her eyes but because he had seen these eyes before. Adelia, Ashton Kane mumbled. Gaia released his shoulder in shock. You are her daughter. Gaia, Ashton Kane realized the truth. Although her face was nothing like he had seen in the portraits, those eyes were undoubtedly Adelia's. Ashton's eyes welled up as he was searching for Gaia for years. Yes, Gaia took a deep breath before removing the mask from her face. She revealed her real face. I am Gaia Ashton, the Princess of Nagaland. Ashton Kane stumbled back in utter shock. He couldn't believe what he was searching for was in front of him all this time. Seeing the tears rolling out of his eyes surprised Gaia. It symbolized the strong connection he shared with her mother. Gaia wondered who he was to Adelia. My mother is in trouble. You have to help me find her. Pa N Dan 0 Vel. C0M, I know. Follow me. Ashton Kane wiped off the tears from his face and gestured at Gaia to follow him. She nodded as she followed him behind to another room. He flicked his wrist, forming a translucent shield around them so no one could eavesdrop. I can't believe it's you. Ashton Kane closed the curtains, talking to Gaia. The last time I saw you, you were so little. The room grew darker, but Ashton quickly lit up the candles. Gaia noticed a great concern in his eyes. Who else knows about your identity? Ghost. He knows. Gaia nodded. Do you trust him? With my life. Now it's your turn to answer my questions. What do you know about my mother? Do you know where I can find her? I don't know where she is. But I can tell you how to find her. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 703. Gaia's real father how? Gaia almost immediately asked Ashton Kane. Before I answer that, I need to know how you regained your ability to cultivate again. When I went to Nagaland, they said Zanali broke your meridians. Ghost cured me, answered Gaia. So he knows the real you? Gaia nodded. Don't only be a couple. Be best friends. That's what makes your life worth living, said Ashton. Gaia noticed a tinge of sadness in his eyes. Is that what you and my mother are? Best friends? Ashton Kane sighed. We grew up together. Can you believe it? Ashton Kane let out a miserable chuckle. Gaia's eyes went wide in shock. Her mother was not only a Naga but also a royal. She wondered how a human like Ashton Kane ended up growing up together with her mother. According to her memories, her mother always talked down on humans to the point Gaia thought she hated them. I was a commoner, and your mother was the princess. But she was not like the other Nagas, you know. She was different. Granted, she was as cruel and ruthless as they come, but to me, she was kind, playful, and my best friend. Ashton began to recall his childhood with Adelia. Gaia listened to him in complete shock. Her mother was not any one of those things. Yet, she couldn't see any signs of Ashton lying either. Every night, she sneaks out from the castle to hang out with me. I still remember the answer she gave me when I asked why she picked me as her friend. She just shrugged and told me it feels right. Ashton smiled, reliving his memories with Adelia. His hazel eyes welled up. There was not a single day he didn't miss her dearly. My mother sneaks out of the castle. Are you kidding me? Ashton shook his head, laughing. She was not always the Adelia you know. She and I used to prank the kids. She turns into her Naga form, a black cobra with golden stripes. Gaia was once again surprised by Ashton. Adelia's Naga form was one of the Nagaland's secrets. Yet Ashton described it perfectly. This meant he really did see Adelia in her Naga form. If her mother let Ashton see her real form, that meant she really trusted him. We scare the kids and laugh at them running to their mothers. It never got tiring. After we grew up, we pretended to be adventurers and fought the beasts in the nearby forests. But one day, everything changed. Your grandma died trying to reach the half-immortal stage. I heard about that. But why did you say everything changed? Asked Gaia. After your grandma died, your mother changed. It was like a great burden was put on her shoulder. She was never the same again. Gaia immediately recalled what Eladir told her when they first met him in the Akilan realm. Gaia's bloodline served the Order. Their real last name was Wraiths. According to Eldari, Wherever a wraith dies, the knowledge and their duty to the Order and the Dark Lord would be passed to the next of kin. It made sense that Adelia felt burned after her mother died. No matter how many times I asked her, she wouldn't tell me. After some time, she used her contacts in Elon and changed my name from Patrick to Ashton. I became Ashton and joined the Kane family. Because of what Adelia gave me, I was able to break through faster than the others. As a result, I became the Elder Kane. Tell me you met my mother after. Not quite. This chapter upload daily at Novel Next. Calm Ashton sighed. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. She met me. With you in her arms, Gaia creased her brows. What about my father? When Gaia asked this question, Ashton became silent. His eerie silence churned a bad feeling in Gaia's gut. This was 2 months before your mother was married to Castiel. Gaia's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. That day, you and your mother were covered in blood. That stubborn bastard didn't tell me what happened. But something bad happened, that was for sure. Your mother hid you, and in 2 months, she married Castiel. After 10 months, they announced you were born. Your mother must have put a spell on you to keep you from growing up. Did I born to my mother and Castiel? With a heavy heart, Gaia asked the question. Her voice trembled. I fear not. Ashton's answer shattered Gaia's entire world. She felt the world around her spinning. Her whole life, she had believed Castiel was her father. But if Castiel wasn't her father, then who was? The question wreaked havoc in her mind. Who is my father? Only your mother can give you the answer, Ashton Kane sighed. Tell me, how do I find my mother? Ashton opened his mouth and was about to answer Gaia when someone knocked on the door. My lord, it's important. A gentle voice appeared from the other side of the door. Ashton furrowed his brows. It can wait a little bit longer. Ashton's tone oozed with anger. Please, my lord. You have to hear me out. Ashton banged the chair's hand. Gaia sensed a body-refining stage cultivator outside. She just thought it was a maid. However, Gaia wanted to get the answer to her question first. Unfortunately, Ashton Kane was already at the door. The door slowly creaked open. What? Ashton growled. But his growl turned into a gasp. He clenched his throat as he stumbled back. Gaia was stunned. Everything happened so quickly. To her shock, there was no one outside the door. She dashed at Ashton Kane, who collapsed to the ground, holding his throat. Blood spurted out of Ashton's throat. His body twitched. Gaia immediately poured the healing potion down his throat, but the wound that should have been closed didn't. She took Ashton's head on her lap as he touched her face with his blood-soaked hand. Tears rolled out of his eyes. A pained smile appeared on his face. The Dark Lord has to reveal himself. He could barely utter these words through his slashed throat. In public, his real identity, then. Your mother will find you. The light of life slowly faded away from his eyes. Gaia frantically looked around to find the one who was responsible for this. Tell Adelia. I never stopped searching for her. Ashton Kane's hand dropped to the ground as his breathing finally stopped. Gaia's mind went completely blank. She couldn't think straight. But she could hear several footsteps rushing toward her. She had only a few seconds to react. If the elders of the Kane family saw her like this, they would definitely think she killed Elder Ashton Kane. That would turn them against Ghost and her. Whoever killed Ashton wanted that to happen, and Gaia had a few seconds to prevent that. She quickly retrieved a dagger from her space ring and stabbed herself in the chest. Blood sprayed out of her chest, turning her white dress red. She threw the healing potion on the ground as the glass vial shattered into pieces. The blood loss made her vision blurry. Before falling down beside Ashton Kane, she put the dagger into the interlinked space ring to send the bloody dagger to Michael. What happened? Elder Kane. Healers. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. Call the healers. Oh my God. Several people shouted. Gaia couldn't see their faces but heard them clearly. They rushed at them. Elder Kane. He is dead. Miss Elia. Quick, she is alive. Gaia's vision finally turned completely black. The Kane family soldiers quickly carried her to the healers themselves. If Gaia were holding Elder Kane on her lap, they would have mistaken her for the killer. Her quick thinking changed that. She plunged the dagger right through the left side of her chest, barely missing the heart. Therefore, the healers or the Kane family members wouldn't even imagine Gaia stabbing herself. A few hours later, Gaia slowly opened her eyes. When her vision cleared, she saw Michael sitting beside her on the bed. She slowly rose up. "Easy there," Michael wrapped his hand around her shoulder, helping her up. Gaia noticed several Kane family elders, all new faces staring at her. "Elder Kane," Gaia mumbled. "He's not with us anymore," Michael softly said. Master Ghost, an ashen-haired man in his middle age, stepped forward. He had the demeanor of a warrior and a leader. Judging by the fancy robes he was wearing, anyone could tell he was of a higher status than the rest. "Please, we need to know who killed Elder Kane," the man growled. "He was the house head, Leonard Kane." "An assassin," said Gaia. Several elders gasped in shock. They couldn't believe an assassin had made his way into the castle, killed Elder Kane, and escaped the castle undetected. Seeing Leonard frowning, Michael raised his brow. What were the guards doing? Michael's cold voice sent shivers down their spines. "Can you tell us what you and Elder Kane were talking about?" Leonard asked Gaia. It was obvious Leonard had some doubts about Gaia. Michael could see it in his eyes. The only reason they were having a conversation instead of a battle was Michael's half-immortal cultivation stage. Gaia looked around as though she couldn't speak in front of all these people. Deep down, she quickly fabricated a believable story. "You can trust them," said Leonard. "Elder Kane was asking me to find the traitor among your family." She dropped a shock bomb on them. Not a single one who heard her remained calm. He believed the Kane family was infiltrated. He said he had a list of suspects he wanted me and Ghost to check on. He couldn't trust anyone here. To Michael's surprise, Leonard seemed to have completely believed her made-up story. He watched what happened through the spider on Gaia's necklace. But judging by Leonard's look, the Kane family might really have a spy among them. "Did he tell you where this list is?" He was about to when someone knocked on the door. He went to check. Everything happened so quickly. The assassin was too fast. "Until she got hurt, a mole among you wasn't my business. But now it is, Lord Leonard. Did you know about this?" asked Michael. "Everyone clear the room," Leonard ordered the elders. The elders seemed a bit reluctant, but ultimately, they left the room. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 704. Everything leads to Adelia Ashton. Leonard's side. Fear and shock glimmered in his eyes. It had been several months since he first heard someone dangerous had infiltrated the Kane family. He had been searching for the infiltrator ever since tirelessly. Yet, he found no clue. It was surprising and shocking at the same time to know Elder Kane was also searching for the infiltrator. On the other hand, Michael couldn't believe the made-up story Gaia threw up turned out to be true. "I've known for a while," said Leonard. Elder Kane was a fusion stage cultivator. By how she described it, the infiltrator must be stronger than him. Besides, he was able to disappear without a trace. "If he didn't stab her, you would have doubted her, right?" asked Michael. Leonard remained silent for a moment. The silence was enough for Michael. He rose from the side of Gaia's bed and walked toward Leonard. "Show me where he was killed. Believe it or not, Elder Kane was a friend. I will help you avenge him by finding his killer. Lead the way." Michael gestured at Leonard to lead the way. Seeing no other option, Leonard led them to the place where they found Elder Kane dead. Although he doubted Elia's story, if there was a slim chance Ghost could find the infiltrator, Leonard wanted to take it. The infiltrator had killed one of the strongest members of the Kane family. If he could kill him so easily, none of the others would be safe anymore. Gaia followed Michael and Leonard. She recalled every single word Elder Ashton Kane said to her. Little by little, everything made more sense to her. She always wondered why Castiel loved Zanali more than her. Now it was clear to Gaia. Zanali was his real daughter, not her. That was why he gave the throne to Zanali instead of her. Did he know? Gaia asked herself. She wondered whether Castiel knew she wasn't his daughter or not all this time. The hallways were riddled with Kane family guards. Everyone looked terrified, especially the maids and servers. Their faces were pale as paper. When they saw Leonard, they bowed with respect and a tinge of fear in their eyes. Michael silently followed Leonard to Ashton Kane's room. To Michael's surprise, the hallway and the room were empty. "I ordered no one to return to this place after taking his body away," Leonard said. The death of Elder Kane extremely saddened him. Michael squatted beside the puddle of dried blood. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he conjured a violet orb of light. Strangely, the moment the light fell on the ground, Leonard saw several footsteps. A bunch of footsteps was clustered around the blood. "I assume no one can teleport in or out of the castle," said Michael. Leonard nodded. "Yes. We have protection runes all over the castle. It's not possible to use teleportation within these castle walls." Michael expected this. He doubted whoever killed Ashton could have teleported. It was not like he had a system at his disposal. Among the cluttered footsteps, Michael noticed a distinct set of footsteps. Unlike the others, this footprint had toes. It was clear that they didn't wear any boots or shoes. "You see that?" Michael asked Leonard. "Why would anyone avoid wearing boots in weather like this?" Michael followed the footsteps. These footsteps came and went in the same direction. Leonard and Gaia followed Michael behind. While following the footsteps through the hallway, Michael noticed strange behavior. Wherever there was a window, the footsteps moved away from it as though the person was afraid of windows. Everything started to make more sense to both Michael and Gaia. They followed these footsteps to the hall where many elders and soldiers gathered. "What's happening? What is that light? Look at the footsteps," the people gathered around the hall mumbled. When they saw Leonard, they became silent. Thanks to Michael's acute vision, the footprints on the hall didn't confuse him. He was able to follow his target without a hitch. He continued to follow the footsteps out of the hall into another hallway. "Where was he going?" asked Gaia. Leonard slightly shivered. Surprisingly, there were no other footprints in this hallway dimly lit by chandeliers. They followed the footsteps until they came in front of a fireplace. The footsteps, however, went into the fireplace, which meant there was a secret passageway behind this fireplace. Michael turned around. "Lord Leonard," Michael looked at Leonard. Judging by the dark lines on his forehead, it was obvious not many people knew about this passageway. In other words, whoever killed Ashton knew more about the castle than most of the Kane family members. "Not many knew about this, did they?" asked Michael. It took a few moments for Leonard to snap out of his deep thoughts and nod. "The cat's out of the bag, Lord Leonard." "Where does it end?" said Michael. "This passageway will lead you to a small fishing island nearby," said Leonard. "I made your job simple, Lord Leonard. Here's how we find the killer. It's highly unlikely he suddenly appeared in the castle and knew about every secret entrance and passageway. On the contrary, he must have spent years here," said Michael as Leonard pushed a brick into the wall. The wall slowly creaked, revealing an opening big enough for a grown man to squeeze through. Gaia entered the passageway first, followed by Michael and Leonard. They continued to follow the footsteps. For more chapters, please visit. The first way to find the killer is if he chooses to return to the castle. I will give you a rune to match a footprint with the one here. When you place this rune on a person, if their footprint matches the one here, it will let out a jade light. Otherwise red. Simple enough? Michael said while following the footsteps. The passageway was dark. Except for the violet light, there was no light source, not even torches. Leonard nodded as Michael continued. "There is a good chance he lived among you. So make a list of everyone who knew about this passage. If the killer chooses not to return, summon everyone on the list. Whoever is missing will be your suspect. What if he wasn't an elder but somehow knew about the passageway?" asked Leonard. "I'd hope it didn't come to that," Michael sighed. "Why?" asked Leonard. "Connect the dots, Lord Leonard. Elder Kane was a fusion stage cultivator, but the killer ended his life in a few seconds. He escaped before she could even see his face. We saw the footsteps avoiding the windows. Why?" Leonard did not know the answer. The killer was avoiding the sunlight, and who avoids sunlight? Vampires. Leonard halted his steps. His entire body trembled. Shock and disbelief emerged in his eyes. "No, it can't. Are you saying a vampire killed him? No offense, Master Ghost, but this is far-fetched, is it? The Guardian Guild's been hiding the fact that vampires are among us forever. If Elder Kane had found out, they would have killed him to keep their existence among you dark. And don't let these footsteps fool you, Lord Leonard. You might see normal footsteps and think they walked or ran, but in reality, you can't even see when they move. Those bastards are fast, really fast, said Michael. He resumed following the footsteps. He gave Leonard some time to think about everything. Unlike Michael, Leonard and ordinary people were terrified of the vampires. The vampires were nearly impossible to kill without godly skills or a primordial flame. Michael doubted anyone in the Kane family had either. A single vampire could decimate the entire Kane family. Leonard was right to panic and sweat. Let's say you're right. What should we do next? Asked Leonard after long minutes of deep thinking. Nothing, and pretend like you know nothing about them. You will be the next to go if they suspect you know something. So pick a scapegoat and kill him in front of all the family members. Tell him he was the traitor. I'd recommend you go with a corrupted son of a bitch with various criminal activities, for the clear conscience's sake. But what about the killer? I want that dog killed and hanged for killing Elder Kane. Trust me. He will be, Michael growled. Although the killer did not lay a finger on Gaia, he killed Elder Kane, a friend of Gaia's mother. Moreover, the man had answers, and now, they had no way to get them. The more they learn about Adelia, the closer they get to these vampires. Michael wondered what the connection was between Adelia and the vampires. Gaia remained silent all the way. She was in deep thought. After learning the truth about her father, she was speechless. Eventually, they came to the end of the tunnel. As Lord Leonard said, they stepped onto a small fishing island. Unfortunately, the footsteps disappeared. Because it was winter and night, there was no one outside. All Michael could see were fishing nets, poles, empty baskets, and a frozen lake. Lord Leonard. Michael turned his gaze toward Leonard. I said everything I wanted. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. Make a wise one. I will honor Elder Kane when I finish everything I must. Michael patted Leonard on the shoulder before ascending to the air with Gaia. In a blink of an eye, Leonard saw Michael and Gaia disappear, leaving a trail of golden lightning. Michael, I know everything. Michael stopped flying above the clouds. He gently cupped Gaia's face. Finding your mother will answer every question you have, said Michael. But Ashton. He said the way is for the Dark Lord to reveal his identity, Gaia stuttered. She couldn't ask him to reveal his identity to the outside world. It'd put a target on his back and end his life. Gaia simply couldn't do it. Michael just smiled. It's okay. Didn't I promise I would help you find your mother? Now my job has become easier. Gaia's eyes welled up. He leaned forward, gently kissing her on the forehead. This chapter upload daily at Novel Next. Calm, nothing will happen to your mother or me. It's me you're talking about. Not to rub it on your face, but I am a god, and gods cannot be killed, Michael said with a playful tone to make her smile. What about the god-killing arrows, huh? Don't be too haughty. We still have no clue what those are, she purred. And who has the answer to that question? Your mother. Everything leads to Adelia Ashton. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 705. Attack on the Golden Port. After leaving Kane Castle, Michael came directly to the southern continent. He spent a day meditating. Meanwhile, Eladir was completely drowned in creating a teleportation array. Corey helped him with supplying the required arch-energy crystals. Surprisingly, Eladir and Corey became closer than anyone would expect. At first, Eladir was annoyed by her curiosity. But, after spending a few hours, he found out that he liked explaining how the runes and arrays worked. Once they became close, they both lost track of time. When the sun rose the next day, a 5-meter radius chakra glowed on the surface of the blue ocean. Corey and Eladir watched their handiwork from the upper deck of a frigate. You can now contact the Dark Lord, said Eladir. Although he didn't show any expression, he was extremely proud of his work. Shouldn't we check if it's working first? Asked Corey. Eladir chuckled. It'll work. His eyes brimmed with confidence. Following his answer, Corey did not question him. Instead, he contacted the Dark Lord. My lord, the array is ready. Gather the attack team, she heard the Dark Lord's words in her head. It took Corey almost 30 minutes to bring all the ships together. Finally, she ordered the crews to board the leading frigate. As they were waiting for the Dark Lord, he appeared out of nowhere with the Dark Queen. My lord. All of them bowed their heads. Some had fear, and some had absolute reverence in their eyes. "You explained the plan to them?" Michael asked Corey. "Yes, my lord," she nodded. "I will go through it again, just to be safe," said Michael. His gaze swept across the crew. They planned to send 8 ships to attack. Since they were not going to sail back to the southern continent, Michael ordered Corey to put the least crew possible in each ship. Hence, the total number of crews in this operation was 96. 12 crew members for each ship. "Listen, you will all be teleported to the Azer continent. Your target is Golden Port." The crew members gasped in shock when they heard they would be teleported. These simpletons had never experienced teleportation or any magic in their life. They only heard about it. "Your mission is simple. When you see the port, fire the cannons but do not sink any ships docked there. When you fire several volleys of cannonballs, the Golden Port Naval Army will arrive. Fire at them and use the teleportation scrolls given to you. Unless you want to get sunk with the ships, don't try to be a hero." The pirates bopped their heads up and down. "Now go have fun." Michael dismissed the crew. After the pirates left the ship, Corey looked at Michael for her next order. "Assemble our fleet and tell them to be ready. We will go to war any second from now on." "You will know the details later. As you wish, my lord. Any problem building the mortars?" asked Michael. After fitting Big Bertha with mortar, Michael ordered Corey to build more mortars and fit them in every ship in his fleet. He was still thinking of a way to improve the mortar in Big Bertha. He wanted it to be the best of the best. After the Wuxian War, Michael decided to spend his time improving Big Bertha in every way possible. Only one thing stood between him and upgrading the ships to their full potential and beyond: the blacksmith trait. Just a few hiccups in procuring the materials. "Other than that, everything is going smoothly, my lord. Coordinate with the twins and let them get the materials." "Already talked to them, my lord." Michael was pleased by her answer. Corey was taking the initiative as he told his subordinates to. Once he finished his war, he could finally focus on making them stronger. The cosmic stream would help him achieve his goal. "Good." Michael patted her on the shoulder. Excitement coursed through her veins. After dismissing Corey, Michael, Eladir, and Gaia leaned on the rails, taking a look at the glowing array on the ocean. "Gaia, go to the Golden Port with Nightmare and wreak havoc," Michael reminded Gaia of her part in the plan. Their plan was to bring out the Wuxian naval army instead of a fusion stage cultivator. If the Golden Port dispatched one to take care of the pirate ships instead of their warships, this plan would fall apart. Hence, Michael decided to send Gaia and Nightmare. This way, even if the Golden Port dispatched a fusion stage cultivator, he or she would be occupied with Gaia and Nightmare. The Thusians would be forced to bring out their warships at that time. Once Michael had learned where the warships were coming from, he could destroy them and ensure his victory in a naval war between Thusia and him. "Meet you there." Gaia nodded as she disappeared from their sight. "You're doing this, huh?" said Eladir. "Yes, but before that I have to go meet Mugashiku." "Why?" Eladir creased his brows. He couldn't think of a reason why the Dark Lord wanted to meet the dormant Hydra in Stormville Mountain. Why would anyone want to meet that terrifying existence? Eladir questioned himself. For now, the southern continent is his world. "We need his support and permission to claim it as ours," said Michael. In other words, Michael wanted Mugashukus backing against the Sky Hall. After revealing himself as the Dark Lord, the Sky Hall would finally make their move and bring the full wrath of the place down on Michael. To survive this, Michael needed to fall back to the southern continent. Michael doubted the Sky Hall would dare to piss off something that could end this world in a few hours. Unfortunately, Michael had to spend almost all the baddest points he received by slaughtering the Thusians to find the Queen's soul piece's location. Nevertheless, he hoped it was enough to get Mugashukus backing. An hour later, Yagner, General Bryce, and Prince Devarius were waiting for Ghost on the outskirts of Golden Port. The Golden Port was built on the banks of a carefully crafted harbor. It was truly a fully modernized trade center. Its allure was matched by the backdrop of an elegant dockyard and forest of colorful maple trees. Unfortunately, the snow blanketed the city and ruined the colors with its puffy white. But when spring arrives, the Golden Port would be a marvelous sight to behold. The total trade of Thusia happened through the Golden Port. Despite the winter, countless merchant ships arrived at the port to import and export goods. "I see everyone's here," Yagner's body jerked in shock. They turned around to see Ghost flying toward them. They gathered above the clouds to discuss their plans. You guys picked who's going to board the Wuxian ships? Asked Michael as they all nodded. Good. The attack ships will arrive when we say so. They still couldn't believe Michael that he had a fleet. Moreover, as far as they could, there was no single ship on the horizon. So they wondered how these ships would arrive when they gave the order. But they didn't question Michael. Shall we start the attack? Asked Michael. Yagner took a deep breath. General Bryce sighed and looked like he couldn't wait to get this over with, while Devarius seemed excited. I want to see the ships you told us about, said Devarius. Send them in. The trio saw Ghost placing his hand on an ear and talking. They wondered who he was talking to. But to their shock, they saw ships appear out of nowhere on the horizon. It was too shocking. The trio slowly flew forward to take a closer look at the ships. They couldn't believe their eyes. Where did they? General Bryce's eyes went wide. You teleported them here. Yagner was an orc. So he was familiar with teleportation more than the others. So when the ships appeared out of thin air, he realized that Ghost had teleported the ships from somewhere to here. The cannons fired with a thunderous roar. Fire and smoke gushed out of the cannons as they rained down cannonballs upon the Golden Port. Michael noticed the people carrying on with their daily lives on the port, screaming and shouting. They dropped everything they were carrying and ran away as fast as possible. In a few seconds, the calm atmosphere in the Golden Port was completely thrown into chaos. Several armed soldiers rushed toward the port. As Michael instructed, the pirate crew didn't aim for the merchant ships docked at the port but just close enough to think they were attacking the ships. The Wuxian soldiers were in utter shock. The attack was so sudden. Some of them flew away to inform the Golden Port Duke. As the city was getting bombarded by pirate ships, Yagner noticed a large shadow in the sky. The clouds quickly dissipated. Soon, they saw Nightmare soaring through the clouds in his true form. Nightmare circled around them before diving down to rain down fire. The pirates stopped firing the cannons for a moment in utter shock. They were startled by the appearance of a dragon. Tell them it's friendly, Michael contacted Corey and conveyed the message to the pirates. Even from a distance, he could see the pirates scared shitless. They shivered uncontrollably. Nightmare's terrifying roar echoed through the air. The people screamed as loud as they could before running deeper into the city away from the port. Where are you hiding your ships, Maxim? Michael mumbled. His gaze swept across the Golden Port. To this moment, he hadn't seen a single warship of Wuxia. Instead, he heard another mighty roar. Michael's gaze immediately turned in the roar's direction. To his shock, he saw another large shadow in the clouds above Nightmare. It was a dragon, only thrice the size of Nightmare. Michael immediately sensed a threat. The dragon above Nightmare was a fusion stage beast. He was about to fly toward Nightmare when a giant mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth came down through the clouds to bite off Nightmare's head. But a powerful blast of wind pushed the dragon away from Nightmare. Instead, Michael saw Gaia standing atop Nightmare. The hostile dragon roared as the battle between Gaia and a royal dragon finally began in the skies of the Golden Port. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.